this is so much to manage. Make sure you guys can hear me because I'll mess around and then all of a sudden it won't work. All right. Well, we are live on YouTube. I had to use my own personal streaming. I hope it's not lagging too much because if it is, y'all can go to YouTube or I'll just stream from my phone. I have backups just in case. Hi, I'm doing great. How are you? I'm looking at the YouTube stream too because I want to make sure that I'm on top of both. Now, if you're on YouTube, you're going to be able to see everything that I'm posting on there a little bit easier. It requires a lot of switching out. There's an echo on YouTube. Okay, let me see if I can fix it. Is it better now? Let me know on YouTube if it's better. I had two mics on, I didn't realize at the same time. Let me know on YouTube if you guys still hear the echo. All right, you guys. Hello, happy Sunday. Perfect. Okay, great, great. All right, so I successfully did it. I don't know how streamers do it, y'all. Like, there's so many different moving parts, and I don't have like any kind of manager or anything. I don't know how they do it all at once. But yeah. So, hi guys. I haven't gone. Did I go live last weekend? Yeah, I did. Um, I didn't go live as much this week. But there's not been too much. It's been kind of quiet, but not quiet. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the stuff going on in the news and in the media. Um, I wanted to talk about 6-7 today. Because it's like, I don't want to just keep dismissing it as brain rot. I do believe there's a lot more aspects to it. And so I'm going to be talking about J. Cole this week announcing the fall off. I've been wanting to post on TikTok specifically about the whole Kendrick Lamar thing and how it ties into this. Prince, all of these different instances of learning about the story of fallen light or fallen gnosis. So I'll wait for a lot more people to come in because you guys always miss it and I feel bad because I didn't come prepared to go backwards. But I enjoy talking about the music industry. I don't know, like this week I posted a interview that I did with some cybersecurity specialists talking about the framework of the matrix essentially. And so this is like a very serious conversation because they were guiding me through like exactly how the internet is working, how big tech uses our data. But my heart always goes back to the music. It always goes back to pop culture. I love talking about it because most people think it's irrelevant or they'll do this like holier than thou thing like, oh, I don't watch whatever's on social media, so I don't know what you're talking about. Please, pop culture has affected everyone since the early 2000s because it's not only involved in mass psychology, how the collective moves, how their decisions are shaped, but also like when you hear music, that's a vibratory frequency. And so, whether it's the lyrics, the actual priest, and by priest, I mean the orator who's ever giving the script, it has been cast out what's been going on through the illusions that we all live in. And so, awakening from the illusions is the idea. So, I don't know the internet's version of 6-7, but I've seen 6-7 in a lot of different ways. So, what is 6 times 7, y'all? We'll make it real simple. We'll start off real simple. What is 6 times 7? I'll wait. Gotta make sure y'all do math. Don't use your calculators. I know y'all are smarter than that. All right. The 42 laws of Ma'at, or the 42 judges of the underworld, are the first thing that comes to mind for me when I think about that. I also think about the 6th and 7th month of the year, usually associated with Gemini and Cancer season, but also Leo season as well. And then when I think about what those months carry, they're usually around the rising of Sirius, the dog star. I think about the Nile River flooding during that time and what that means in the age of the internet. When you're thinking about ancient Egypt and you're thinking about how it really impacts us today when we live in a more modernized version of society, you're like, okay, well, what does the Nile have to do with anything? Look at our internet. Look at us living on a planet that is mostly inhabited by water. We are in a dream state. We're in a dream within a dream. And so we have 24 hours in a day, right? But the 24 hours in a day is calculated in compressed time by controllers or people who have told us this is what time is, how we use it. Also, what dreams are. So I went back to the only 6'7" I know, which is 6'7" by Lil Wayne. And if y'all know that whole music video, I can't show the music video, unfortunately, because y'all know how they are with, streaming and licensing and all that. But I am going to show some images on YouTube. If y'all are on TikTok, I suggest you go over to YouTube because it'll be a lot easier for me to stream there until I start getting a social media manager. But in 6'7", that song is sampled from Deo by Harry Belafonte. If y'all do not know who Harry Belafonte is, I suggest you go ask your parents, maybe go back in history a little bit, but most people should know who Harry Belafonte is. And so the song Deo is a calypso beat. It's a calypso song. It's glitching for you. Okay, on TikTok. I might have to go to the phone, guys. If enough of you say it's glitching on TikTok, then I'll have to get on my phone. Lagging. All right. You don't have to tell me twice. Let me put it up on my phone. I'm going to end it. I always got to do backup. I do it on the desktop because it's easier. However, I want people to have access. So I'm going to end it on TikTok, you guys. We're still on YouTube, though. You guys, give me a second, and I'm going to come right back on TikTok. All right. Well, that makes it easier because now I don't have to try to look at 3 live streams on the computer at one time. But okay, so when we're talking about 6'7", 6'7", do y'all remember how the music video starts off? And I'm gonna bring in some images too so you guys can see. You guys, I suggest you get on YouTube if you want to see some of these pictures I'm going to start showing on the live stream. I'm not going to be able to do all of them on TikTok. So I am going to be going over right now. We're going to be talking about Lil Wayne's music video, 6'7". Give me a second to adjust some things. Do y'all remember how it starts off? How does a 6'7" video start off? Where did Lil Wayne draw his inspiration from for that music video? All my TikTokers, head over to my YouTube if you want to see these images. How does it start off, you guys? I just asked some of you, how does the 6'7" video start off with Lil Wayne? What is he doing? He's taking the film Inception. You guys remember what Inception is? It is all about the dream state. It's all about the dream state. What happens when they have to dunk him in the tub? If y'all remember the beginning of the music video, they do the whole scene. He won't wake up. Why did they do that? Why do we always see in movies, in media, stars dressing themselves in bathtubs? What do bathtubs represent? I want y'all to get interactive in the live because we've all grown up with this song. Yep. And in the song by Harry Belafonte, Deo, we know the words, daylight come, and we want to go home. What is home? What are we talking about? That movie was actually one of my favorites in college when I saw it. I probably smoked a little too much when I saw it, but the first time I did, I was very interested in learning about the dream state and how dreams are built. And so we're not that far into the live, guys, on TikTok. We just started. Please go over to YouTube so you guys can see the images. But we're talking about 6'7" today. That's the theme of the day. 6'7" is what we're discussing with Lil Wayne right now. I said that when it comes to like everybody talking about brain rot, and what 6-7 is, I spoke about how 6 times 7 is 42. So 42, I think about the 42 assessors of the underworld, or I think about the 42 laws of Ma'at. I also consider that they tell us we have 24 hours in a day, how time is compressed and how we use it. And so in the film Inception, he starts off by trying to wake him up. He won't wake, so they have to dunk him in a tub in order to wake him up again. Waking up in shock. You can't get into the group. Okay, hit me up towards the end. We'll discuss Discord towards the end of the live today. But I thought it was super interesting because 167 came up when I looked up into what's her name? 11 from Stranger Things. The Duffer Brothers gave her a birthday of 6-7, June 7th. That is a Gemini sign, y'all. A Gemini sun, and Gemini is the sign of the twins. Ooh, that's a good one. Somebody said Chadwick Boseman in the movie 42. Chadwick Boseman happens to play Thoth in Gods of Egypt. That is a great one. Also, Jackie Robinson played for the Kansas City Monarchs, Monarch Mind Control, the Butterfly. And so think about how we are looping in and out of time through dream states, through waking and sleeping states as well. So when you see things and trends happening on repeat, you have to ask yourself, like, what is the origin? What do these numbers mean to me? Before on the other TikTok live, and for those of you on YouTube, I talked about how with, what was it? Not it just being brain rot, but how trends are forms of influence. They're ways of giving encrypted messages without saying so directly. And TikTok is in a sleep state. And not just TikTok, obviously, there's other social media apps, but there's been a lot of hinting about being in the sleep world or the dream world. If you guys saw my video I did on Bad Bunny, Vogue magazine on their TikTok made a video with Bad Bunny standing on a little red Corvette, channeling Prince, by the way, and they end with the words sleep talk. Why would they do that? That's why you got it. That's how you start waking up your mind. Thank you. The 7th letter in the alphabet. You have to ask yourself, why would a major fashion luxury company promote Bad Bunny on a little red Corvette like Prince and put sleep talk? And then we go back to this thing I'm telling you guys about with 6-7 and think about Lil Wayne, because we're going to go into a lot of different places with this today that I've seen. The 42 assessors of the underworld were the judges as you were making your way into the afterlife. But what really is the afterlife? What are we building now? Are we alive or are we in the dream here? And when you're alive, this means you're doing something for yourself. You're working on your own passions. You are following your heart, your intuition, your dream. That's the sleep state, the first sleep state that we're in. But as you come into ascendance throughout this life, you're going into awakening. And so they always show bathtubs because it's a symbol of resurrection. Think about stars that you've heard about who have died in bathtubs, what that's a symbol of. Think about images that we've seen of Tupac, for example. I believe he did a photo shoot in a tub with money covered everywhere. It kind of reminded me of that film Slumdog Millionaire, where the brother, right before he's about to be taken out, covers himself in money in the bathtub. If y'all seen Slumdog Millionaire, you know what I'm talking about. Gold chains. There was money in that too, though. Yes. Gold in general, it's just the idea of currency and money, but currency is also the water. It's also the channeling of memory. So 6 foot, 7 foot was also used in the movie, or not 6 foot, 7 foot, Deo, I'm sorry, by Harry Belafonte was literally used in Beetlejuice. Do y'all remember what Beetlejuice was about? Don't feel bad for not seeing these movies. If you have a question, I'll walk you through it. All of these movies are essentially the same. Movies are dreams made into reality. They're real events that happen that are, kind of dramatized for the sake of Hollywood, for the sake of integrating. But the dream state and the sleep state are just simply stories mirrored back into the druidic magic of Hollywood, the silver screen. Because silver is a reflector of the moon. It's the subconscious. So don't ever feel bad for not seeing like the movies or the shows I'm talking about. Hey, everybody getting on YouTube. I'm telling y'all now on TikTok, go to YouTube if you want to see the images. I got 2 hands and I cannot keep going to all photos, but I'm going to keep on both because I know a lot of my community is on TikTok too. Beetlejuice was somewhat a resurrection as well. But the whole thing with Beetlejuice was, remember, Michael Keaton plays Beetlejuice, and he was trying to get into the house of the living. He's a dead person trying to get into the house of the living. So, what is the easiest way for someone to infiltrate a dream? Through the sleep state, through the unconsciousness, the unconscious awareness. So you put in subliminal programming, things that people may not notice immediately, especially if they don't have the education to carry that as well. Which, instead of education, what do we feed people? Massive pop culture. And I think that's an important thing to, keep in mind. Now, I love symbolism, and I think symbolism is the way and the language that we've always spoken in. But in a modern day context where you're only thinking about the years maybe 2000 to right now 2026, that's a very short time period. Now, we are in 2026, right? 26 in gematria is the word crown. In crown, we're talking about the crown chakra. We're talking about something falling off as well, which is interesting because we're going to get into J. Cole and the fall off too. Y'all know I love some J. Cole. My college years, my formative years, learning about consciousness, like everybody, was when I left my parents' house and I entered into university, seeking the world, rebelling, all of that. Like every 20 something year old goes through it. Like nobody's special. We've all done that at some point. All right. Hey guys on YouTube. Something hidden is now visible. You can't unsee it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So let me go into some other images real quick on YouTube. Also, remember 2016? There was something that was pretty big around 2016. It was a certain drink. Y'all remember what that drink was? It was a certain color. I wonder if y'all remember. If y'all remember that one. What drink was big in 2016? It was a very popular trend. The banana song here. No, it wasn't pink drink. It wasn't Red Bull. We're talking about the crown chakra. What color is associated with the crown chakra? Think Kurt Cobain. Yeah, all right. Somebody got it. Yes. So Lil Wayne was someone that was pretty prevalent in his career. Y'all remember he even seized a few times, I believe. Right. And that's all about going into the sleep state. So when people are participating in these things, they're kind of trying to disassociate from the real world because it gets pretty heavy. And when the real world gets heavy, you kind of want to just mellow out, go somewhere else. And so Future was always really big with this at that time too. Think about the communities, the young men he was influencing with this, but connect the purple to the crown. I think Future even had an album or a song called Purple Rain, right? Think about Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze. Like it's, when you think about it, you start making the connections like, okay. So when I saw this, when the music video going back to 6 foot, 7 foot, I was like, that's interesting because he's not only referenced now Inception, he's also referencing The Matrix. And I'm going to go into the picture in a minute where he shows the lady in red walking around. In 2016, Everyone Was Unalive, the Purple Rain by Queen Elizabeth and Prince, Purple Rain. Okay, you're on to something because Prince died on April 21st, which is the birthday of Queen Elizabeth, who's the reigning sovereign of 32 states. Pluto, yep, the Pluto and Scorpio generation as well. And his name is Future. So it's a little bit of a time dilation thing happening there. When we're falling into the dream state, this is the easiest way I can say it for people who I don't know what you're talking about. Dreams are manifested into reality. What we do, think, and create in our subconscious mind becomes a reality. If you remember the film Inception, Dominic Cobb, who was played by Leonardo DiCaprio, is paid to intercept dreams. What is happening with tech and artificial intelligence, all that, that's not new. And so when you don't act out on your dreams, you may not even remember your dreams. It does still impact your everyday life. And so J. Cole on 7 Minute Drill last year, I wonder if I can play the song since he took it down. But he had a whole line where he talked about Kendrick falling off like The Simpsons. And so when he announced the fall off, I was like, well, he already did say this, but what are they really saying? And so when I thought about that, I thought about every single time Kendrick has shown himself falling. And what is he falling from? We're talking about gnosis. We're talking about consciousness. When people describe the fallen angels, they never really go into detail about what an angel is or what it means to have fallen, because they just look at the word angel or the way that it's biblically described and don't view it as an angle, like an angle of light, a frequency that you're falling from the crown, from gnosis and enlightenment back down into the material reality. So let me get into some images real quick on YouTube. I want to play music so bad, y'all. I can't even get in my mode without music, but if I do, they're going to restrict the live, and I don't want them to do that to y'all. So somebody, if y'all are musicians and you want your music, like if you have some music and I like it, I will play it on the live. I will credit you whatever I can, even though I do not monetize on YouTube. So, okay. Let me zoom out. We're going to look at the next image. Because remember, I think that was in For Sale where Kendrick says the evils of Lucy were all around him. The evils of Lucy were all around him. If y'all are on YouTube, you can see the image that I'm showing right now. Do you think the rappers are aware of these codes? Yes, I do. You never heard like J. Cole, Ab-Soul, Daylight, any of them talk about it? I do think they're very aware. They're storytellers. Men who are storytellers by nature were probably priests in another life, you know? I'm gonna make my image a little bit smaller so y'all can see. But the image I'm showing you on YouTube is Kendrick Lamar in his swimming pools video. And then the other one is a very popular image, another very popular image that they have of Lucifer falling from heaven. Lucifer is also associated with Venus. Daylight is a trip. You know, that whole album, that was good. Like, Might Delete Later had a lot of things to think about on there. You guys should go back and listen as well. I'm naming the album Fall Off. It's pretty ironic. You know, fall for me. I can't verify in Discord. I don't know why. I'll look into it towards the end of the live, you guys. I know some of you are trying to get into the Discord. But yes, I do think they're very aware. Jay-Z has a song called Lucifer, y'all. Right? Lucifer, son of the morning. I'm from the murder capital where we murder for cap. Yeah. Okay. So if you don't just listen to the lyrics of that song and you pay attention to the movements people are doing, like in real life, people who are priests or who are initiated into occult traditions, and I don't want you to think occult is always a bad word because power is very dependent on who uses it. But Kendrick showed us several times him falling. You had the All Right video where he's falling. That's where he does the whole evils of Lucy thing. You have the Count Me Out video where he's falling. You had the swimming pools video where he's falling. And you got to ask yourself, why do you keep falling out the sky? I mean, it's a pretty easy question. Why do you keep falling out of the sky? Lil Wayne, his B.O.B. Are you talking about B.O.B.? Do you think these codes are tied into Masonic teachings? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't really view all Masonic teachings as evil because you have to be able to look at it from a bird's eye view. We all have fallen from light or gnosis, meaning we have lost ourselves in the awakening process. And ascension is the way back up again. And so J. Cole obviously is one of those people who's shown that throughout his career. I mean, even look at him naming his album Dream, or his label Dreamville. We're talking about dreams. When I'm talking about 6-7, for those of you guys coming in, I'm talking about going into the fallen state, the sleep state, going back into awakening. Are you staying in the material reality or are you rising to meet the dream? And the dream is also associated with the divine feminine as well. So we can go back to a lot of these songs and examine them. And don't think you're thinking too hard because, like, you know, for people who engage in substances and stuff like that, for people who don't abuse it, it can be a period of awakening. And I'm talking about very specific ones. And this is not an encouragement for y'all. But when you're like, oh, do they know? You'd be surprised if you had some conversations with them. They do know exactly what the fuck they're talking about. If you even heard Pie with J. Cole, when he said, I'm a student of Sophia Stewart, the Matrix ain't a lie, I'm like, finally. Finally, at least somebody's publicly talking about it. And Kendrick has actually mentioned the Matrix plenty of times before. Drake on Buried Alive mentions the Matrix. So it's like they know, but they use the casting and spelling as a working and a ritual to awaken the people. It's just now that people are going to start going back and really listening to the lyrics, listening to the words. It doesn't matter if your birthday is 6-7. It means you're a Gemini, right? So you probably have a lot of mirror imagery in your life. Somebody said, what if your birthday is June 7th? Geminis are mirrors. You have mirror energies. Set and Osiris in the Egyptian mythology were mirror energies. Romulus and Remus, the people who founded Rome, allegedly. Those are twin brother energies. Yakin and Boaz, twin brother energies. And so one has to rise and the other one has to fall. If y'all have ever seen Drake's album cover for So Far Gone, he shows himself as a little boy looking up at the sky as he's about to ascend. But then here you have Kendrick falling. And if you listen to Buried Alive, Underground Kings, those are the stories of ancient Egypt, y'all. Why you think Kendrick's talking about the pyramids were written by me and all that? There is a knowledge through Masonic allegory that is passed on from brother to brother, and they enact these stories, knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not decoding birthdays right now, y'all. I mean, if we're talking about 6-7, but if you can book a decode if you have a question about that. The decodes are available on my website. I am also offering 5 limited spots for dream architecture decodes. If y'all can't see it on YouTube, I'll post it at the end of the live. But if you are looking to hold on, guys, 1 second. Oh, I didn't know you scared the hell out of me. I didn't know you were here. Hold on, guys. I didn't know you were here. Don't scare me like that. Like, who the hell is in the house? I'm the man. I was like, who's in the house? It's the man. Go ahead and pause that quick. Hold on. Hold on, guys, 1 second. Don't scare me like that. I didn't mean to. Over there. I heard music at midnight get up, but I was like, what is that? Midnight, she always warn you. Always pay attention to midnight, okay? She's in here with me, isn't she? No, you're missing what I'm saying. Pay attention to midnight, okay? Okay. I have your white cord. I was using it for the mic. You smoked both these roaches? I haven't smoked anything. I haven't smoked anything. Well, you go ahead and break it down. All right. Oh, it's there tonight. Okay. Okay, guys, we're back. My partner was here. I was like, who the fuck is that in the house? I'm sorry, guys. He scared me. I was like, I don't have no kind of weapons in here or anything. All I got is this. Y'all would have witnessed me trying to beat somebody up on live camera. Hold on. We're get back. I'm gonna get back on on YouTube. Now me still holding this in my hand like it's gonna do something. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. What do you mean by going back to the feminine? So when we're talking about going back to the divine feminine, the oldest cults in the world are fertility cults. Are y'all aware of that? Because it was all about divine feminine creation. So when we're going back, I mean like we're going back to the future. We're going back to where it all started. What in the world? Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm adjusting on YouTube real quick so we can get back into the conversation. Knock a screw loose. I was like, excuse me. Do you know if America is Egypt? It's not actual Egypt, but it is a mirror of what Egypt represented, yes. I mean, when you say it's Egypt, I don't think it's the Egypt in Africa. But I do know that America has more pyramids than anywhere else in the world, especially the ones that have had their apex knocked off as well. Okay, hold on, guys. One more time. I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. Somebody in TikTok was asking about if America's Babylon was it supposed to be. There's an echo again. Oh, okay. Is echo good now? I always forget there's two mics on here too. Thank you guys for working with me. I'm sure it's like very chaotic to see me trying to do all this at once, but you try to run three different switchboards at once and tell me how you like it, because I don't. Okay. Is the echo gone now, you guys? Let me know if it's gone on YouTube. Okay, it's good. Thank you guys for having my back. But interesting because we're talking about Kendrick Lamar. And remember, he has the song Babylon with SZA. If you remember, that was at the very beginning of her career. Now, you have to ask yourself, why name a song Babylon so early in your career? And there is a video clip of Ab Soul talking about how he named his album after Aleister Crowley. Y'all know who Aleister Crowley is, an English occultist who influenced a lot of pop culture and Hollywood rituals. Now, what was he seeking or what was he invoking? He believed and practiced or created the practice of Thelema. So he was in search of the Scarlet Woman, aka Babylon, who would be the bringer of the end times. The invocation of the Scarlet Woman would then birth the Moon Child. And so when they're talking about the new age of awakening, we've gone through several periods. We've gone through the age of Osiris, the age of Isis, and now the age of Horus, which is mirrored through ancient Egypt into these rituals here. So, when we're thinking about Not Your Savior, for example, Kendrick is Horus. If you look at all the symbolism for the United States, we know it's all ancient Egypt that they're replicating. Everything from the phallic symbols to the birds to the way that the political system is structured. And so, when we follow the music, it tells a greater story. And I believe that's why I call them priests, because they're orators. They're telling you the story. Not everybody wants to learn law from actual politicians. They want to learn from bloodlines. They want to learn from people who use speech and rhythm and vibration as a way of casting the story. Why do you think they blew up that beef like it did? Like, you never sat back when that rap beef was going on and said, why is this on CNN? Why is a rap beef between two black rappers national news? Because it should have just woken up immediately rather than just jumping to, oh, it's all a distraction. They're all distraction. They're all Illuminati. What does Illuminati mean, y'all? What does that mean? What does the word to illuminate mean? She changed her tune after that as well. Oh, you mean SZA? Child, y'all heard about a Lori Joe. All I'll say is, like, when I see deaths occur, I do know death is not the end. But I have seen quite a lot of swapping and replacing, and I'm not going to make any accusations. I'll just say it was very, very interesting when a Lori Joe jumped off that radio tower, and then not too long after that, SZA became the first lady of Top Dog Entertainment. The Count Me Out video by Kendrick, he's also talking to the therapist about falling. Can't believe that flew over my head. Yeah, I'm going to show the images in a second. But think about, again, the fallen man, the hanged man in tarot. I believe during 9/11, there was a famous picture of the falling man as well as a man who fell from the towers during the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which is funny because Ab Soul has a song called Terrorist Threats, I believe. And 9/11 is tied back to the story of the Matrix too, which takes us back to 6-7, the dream state, the sleeping state, the 42 assessors of the underworld, the Gemini, the mere duality. Think of Narcissus. If y'all ever heard the mythology of Narcissus losing himself in his own reflection. Do you know yourself inside and out? Have you done your shadow work? Are you acting out on your desires, and not like your carnal desires, but your spiritual desires as well? Yeah, the first line of the song by SZA, Babylon, they say, crucify me. And so I started unpacking that from an historical aspect after I heard J. Cole's song Pie on My Delete Later, because I believe they mention Gilgamesh. They talk about Sumeria. They talk about, I think he said, I sold my heart in Saudi Arabia, reference to the Sophia bot. The Heart, Kendrick Lamar in The Heart Part 5, where he's using CGI to change his face. taking on the face of a lot of like masculine fallen archetypes. Will Smith is not dead, but I do view him as a fallen archetype. He does play the savior very often. Nipsey Hussle. I don't know if y'all saw Jermaine Dupri just put out an article saying that he believed Nipsey was Jesus and people are like dragging it for Phil. I know what he's talking about, but like when you hear a star or someone who's very famous talking about something very deep and esoteric and they never talk about it, of course people gonna dismiss him like, what are you talking about? Taylor, I'm talking about the 6th of July. When okay guys, let me tell you this. Birthdays, like just because we're talking about a certain subject does not mean you're damned for all eternity because you have a certain birthday. Numbers are portals, they're entryways, and they tell a story. So if you have a birthday that's June 7th or July 6th, for example, July is a sign of Cancer. You look at the archetype associated with that sign and you have a very extended chart. It's never just your sun sign, but you do pay attention to these things because these become your codes of reality that shape your archetype. So when you view your story, sometimes you can see similar numbers mirrored back to you. Numbers speak, that's a language. That's gematria. That's how numerology works. It's a way of speaking a language amongst different things without needing words, which we were well versed at one time in history. And I think that is why listening to music is the way to wake back up again. To follow the music is to follow the story because the stories never ended. They just repeat over and over again. Jericho, I saw that with Will Smith, and I think that thing is CGI, to be honest. I'm not sure how much of what's coming out on TV anymore is not like CGI for the most part. He could have really gone. But it's interesting that they have that pole to pole movie coming out or that's out on Disney Plus right now while all this ice stuff is going on. Very interesting timing and release of the drop. Hold on. I wish some people would overthink sometimes because if you overthought, you could probably discover a lot more about the mysteries of the world. Honestly, in my opinion, that's why a lot of celebrities, certain ones anyway, not all of them have been elevated because they know the stories. They're just not telling you the stories, huh? Um, they're just not telling you the stories directly, but they tell you through the symbolism. Look at the films that come out. Look at the music that's coming out. Pay attention to when an artist evokes a certain kind of symbolism. When they, dress in a certain color or they make their a certain theme of their archetype, and then pay attention to the different times in media, pop culture, or mythology that you've seen these stories. It tells you what's going on. So I'm gonna show an image on YouTube that I caught of J. Cole's video that looked very much like Inception. Let me grab it real quick. Elon going to the moon. Hold on. He's not actually going to. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you know that he's not actually going to the moon. Those are all like I won't say they're jokes, but they're all symbols to be like we have breached consciousness. We have breached to the divine feminine. We can now enter into space. We can enter into the outside world that is unfathomable or unreachable. Which, if you're thinking about the stories of the demiurge and the creator, those come in a lot. You start to notice some things. Okay, guys, let me show you the picture from J. Cole's video. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. TikTok, y'all can't right now. But if you go on YouTube, I am about to show the image from J. Cole's video that looks exactly like Inception. So you can see what I'm talking about. NASA Artemis II going around the moon soon. Are they actually going around the moon or are they just telling you that? Who is Artemis? Artemis and Apollo, the twins. So think about the Apollo 11 mission, the Apollo 13. Think about Delos and where Artemis and Apollo were born from. When we listen to these stories about space, know the mythologies to which they are referencing because they didn't even start in Greece, but they're replicas of the same thing all the time. Are you talking about on YouTube? Right now on YouTube, I'm showing the image of J. Cole's music video. Actually, I'll pull it up right now so you guys can see it on here. I'm gonna blow it up for a second over my face so you guys can see it. Can you guys see it on YouTube? Can you see the image? The top part is from the scene in Inception, and then the bottom is of J. Cole. Let me see if I can, I won't extend it that big, but hopefully you guys can see what it looks like a little bit. But what does it mean to fall into a dream, to fall into a sleep state? The Fall Off Part 2. So this wasn't even like a whole music video. This is supposed to be an intro to when he drops the album on February 6th. That's why I love when you look at hip hop culture and pop culture when it comes to telling mythologies and stories. I spoke about it a little bit last week, even with Tiana Taylor on the cover of Vanity Fair as Lucifer or Venus. Because we know good and well that's not Lucifer or Venus, but that is the depiction Hollywood wants you to see. One battle after another, a mother fighting to protect and then give up her daughter. Like, it's the story of the feminine. And so the masculine, in the way that they show the story, is of chasing gnosis or chasing the divine feminine. This comes from denouncing the material reality, going towards ascendance or consciousness, which is why when he released 7 Minute Drill, I talked about this like a few days ago. That was him kind of bowing out from doing all the back and forth. Like, he didn't need to do all of that. But he did prophesize what was going to happen, and not like prophet like this prophet, but understanding that stories always repeat themselves. So when Kendrick did the Super Bowl, right? Remember I said Jay-Z has the song Lucifer. If y'all have heard the song Lucifer, it is a sample of Max Romeo and the Upsetters chase the devil out of Babylon. And so when you're looking at Babylon, look, I said Kendrick and SZA have a song called Babylon. What was Babylon? What was the Tower of Babel? Confusing the languages of the people. And look at his label. What is it called? PG Lang. PG Lang, programming language. Ab-Soul, control systems. SZA, control. This is an intentional naming. That's why I'm like, they're all Thelemites. They practiced and followed Thelema. SZA got cast as the Scarlet Woman in this stage play. If you go back and look at the All the Stars music video with SZA, she is dressed in red, scarlet, and purple, because red and purple are the colors of the root and the crown chakra. In the book of Revelation, she's spoken as the whore of Babylon, or the bringer of end times. Babylon and chaos are consorts, and they're bringing about this new age of enlightenment and self-awareness. But remember, the Super Bowl was brought to you by Apple TV. And what is Apple? Biggest technology company in the world right now, next to Tesla, Microsoft, and Google. They're part of that giant conglomerate. So when Apple gives you a show and they say, this is consciousness, SZA doing her divine feminine dance to the Luther song. Also think about not just Lex Luthor, because a lot of crossovers also happen from like the MCU universe and then the DC universe as well. Superheroes who are usually cast, like, you gotta remember who's actually writing these books. Where did they get the stories from? The military, remote viewing, stories that are kind of exaggerated for emphasis and effect because they'll sell comic books and movies. But then people don't know, like, oh, these stories were actually about X, Y, and Z happening. And then you start to make it make sense. Oh, that's why they're referencing themselves as this. This is why they make these songs. I know people talk about ancient Egypt and Greek a lot, but is it tied to Mayans, Aztecs, certain cultures? Yes. Yes, it does. I mean, and they've had several movies they do it. Um, all of those cultures were, when they reference Egypt mostly, it's because it's one of the oldest civilizations, one of the oldest, not the oldest, but one of the oldest and the most popular. But they're all essentially the same story with different faces. Different faces, different names of archetypes, different invocations of energies, but they're the same story. And so when someone wants to feel like a personal connection to this story, this is why they'll say, oh, well, I'll reference this instead of this. Like, for example, Kukulkan, right? We've seen Kukulkan in Wakanda Forever. That's also another like Mami Wata's serpent symbolism. When I look at that, I think about Kundalini energy. I think about the crowned awakening when you receive your wings, your enlightenment, your ability to fly, to see beyond the material reality, levitation, all of those things, like, they're just intertwined with different stories. Yeah. So again, going back into the dream state and what that actually means. What does it mean to be a dreamer? I'll wait for y'all to see what you have to say about that. What does that mean to be a dreamer? No, Atlantis was not the first civilization. One of the oldest, but not the first. And some civilizations we don't even have the names of anymore, you guys. The time, who's counting time anymore, you know? Other than the controllers. Who's changing and counting and manipulating time constantly. To operate consciously in altered states of consciousness, unconscious, okay. Perception of reality, to dip into dream time. How many of you act on your dreams? I consider them elites as well. I don't consider anybody an elite. That word is so tired and so many people use it. Like, elite over who? You think somebody's elite over you because they control your internet or your finances or your resources? That's material power. Spiritual power outdates that, outbanks that every time. That's why they need your energy so bad. I'm gonna refer to them as elite. Elite of what? A league of fools, a league of controllers, but not a league of something more powerful than the human mind. The human mind is what they need to keep the dream alive. What Biggie say? It was all a dream. So like, get back into tune with that. Hold on, guys. It's hard to be conscious of my dreams as a growing boy, but it comes in flashes. Get a notebook. Write these things down. And dreaming can happen in the daytime too, guys. It's not just when you go to sleep at night. I'm always in the past, I feel, wonder what happened and what's next. You got to live in the present because the past will always be there. It's like an Akashic record that you can access at any time. But a lot of people right now are in a frozen state. You're in a frozen state. You're not moving. You're not liquidating your energy, your time. You're encapsulated. You're encapsulated. How do you ever act out on the dream? How do you make the dream a reality? Does it stay a dream forever, you know? I'm gonna post the lady in red that Lil Wayne has in the video. Give me 1 second. I think I gotta send it to myself. When he showed the lady in red, though, I thought that that was really interesting as well. Because the lady in red was the distraction, and they've shown that at the Super Bowl a few times. It's not elite over you. It's just a definition, I guess, to be simple when I talk. Well, language is still power. Language is still power. So you still naming something and you're calling it powerful over you and you think it doesn't matter. That's why words are casting. Words or spells. They have the ability to hold that over you if you continue to use the language like that. Know what you're saying. Know what you're casting. Know what you're believing in. Because the casting is going to continue happening. They're just going to find a new vessel. They'll find a new way to express themselves through the dream. And remember, again, Cobb, he was paid to intercept dreams. So how are your dreams intercepted? Look at these music videos. Look at these shows. I'm not saying that everybody's out to get your dreams, but when you don't act out on your own personal desires, the things that you may have avoided in a previous life or a previous reality, what comes of them? What comes of the dreams that we do not follow? What comes of the dreams that we have not made into a reality for ourselves? We keep looking up at the stars rather than realizing that you are one. It's time to step into your light. It's time to change that energy as well. What would be a better word to define these people as? Actors. Actors. Agents. But not everybody is an agent in a bad way. Sometimes people are agents of change. You know, diamonds have to go under pressure to become, to alchemize into what they are. And so, how will you ever come into your enlightenment if the world does not first show you who you are? It shows you through music videos, it shows you through mirrors, it shows you through, the reality that comes into context with your life every day. You're like, oh, that feels kind of familiar. I feel like I've seen that, or I wrote a poem about that once, or, I had a song that I never recorded because I didn't think it sounded very good. And then you hear something like it on the radio, you're like, hold on. Wait a minute. Oh, they stole it from me. Don't you know that's where things are stolen in the dream realm? If you don't act on them in the physical reality, they become somebody else's dream. Are you familiar with Bashar? Yes, I think he's full of shit, but that's just my opinion. Don't listen to me. Make your own judgments. I think Bashar is full of shit. I think he's like a Aleister Crowley avatar. And by avatar, I mean consciousness can embody anybody, right? It can choose an avatar and choose to work itself through there. And all that channeling, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me personally. The downloads that I get, like the things that I show you guys, I don't need to roll my eyes to the back of my head to channel. I can literally just look at something and put myself in the frequency with it, and anybody can do that. That's why I want to like demystify mysticism so people stop thinking these things aren't accessible to them. Do people have like stronger abilities than others without having to master them? Yeah, it's no different than someone being able to do a 3-point shot because naturally their arms are longer or naturally they have the gift of, shooting a basketball, but it still can be learned by people. Will they be naturally as gifted as it? Probably not. But is it impossible? No, not impossible either. You said you like that, I'll take it. They are comedians. That's why I laugh at it most of the time. Oh, y'all. Okay, so before I get into the lady in red, 6-7. Okay, so remember Prince's birthday is on 6-7, and we were talking about Purple Rain, and I was talking about how in 2016, because they keep trying to make that trend happen again, like post your pictures from 2016. Lil Wayne had a little lean addiction, right? But what was lean? It was meant to slow time down, put the body into a dissension state. And it's interesting that it was Sprite mixed with you know what, and it was purple. So, yes, that does have a significance. The things that you eat in your body, the things that you digest, the color of them, the frequency of them mean something. And when it does something opposite, think about Prince and the way that he passed away and how purple was a huge part of his brand too. But it was associated with the crown chakra. He also, because we were talking about bathtubs earlier, he also had an image in a bathtub. If you've seen the beginning of the When Doves Cry video, he's in a bathtub. Why? Because bathtubs serve as that transcendent state, but they also can serve as a death state or an altered state of consciousness too. So going back to like the beginning of the 6-foot, 7-foot video, the Deo by Harry Belafonte, when you want to go home, you're trying to go back to your heart center, back to the Gnostic knowledge, which is of Sophia or the divine spark. It is of your mother. It is of the celestial cosmos. There's a separation between heaven and earth right now because people are so stuck in their carnal nature, in their material reality, needing the validation for something that already lives within them. They're not executing the dream because they're stuck in somebody else's. And when you're in somebody else's dreams, you follow the rules of that simulation until you learn to write your own. He said your battery's on 6-7. You are what you eat. Absolutely. Michael Jackson spoke about how he had to think of it before Prince did. I find the masculine fighting one another so funny, and not funny like in a ha ha way, but because these aren't new. Like men going to battle, using words, using speech, using casting as a way to kind of like invoke these opposite energies of one another. I think it's something to learn from. Like when I really started getting into like the stories of Hiram, Abiff, and Solomon, and understanding like the Yakin and Boaz pillars. I got like tarot cards and started understanding why the Rider's Waite Tarot had the high priestess between these two pillars. I always ask myself, like, why is the masculine, why are they always fighting one another? And then I thought about what if it's an allegory? What if it's an allegory for understanding the mirrored archetypes of the masculine and the feminine? Because the whole story of Set and Osiris, one brother wanting to take over and the other one having to unalive him, then taking the left eye of his nephew, who is supposed to rise into power as well. I'm like, well, look at this as like a brain journey, right? Your left and your right brain have been separated, but it's one brain. So you're either thinking completely logically or you're thinking spiritually. You can't invoke both at the same time. You have to bring them back together. which kind of like goes into the ideas of the dream realm and the physical realm. You dream about an idea all the time, but are you acting on it? Are you sitting there writing the poems and writing the lyrics, or are you getting up and recording? Are you getting up and showing or speaking out loud? Are you using your gifts and manifesting them? And I don't mean for the music industry, for Hollywood, I mean for you. So when I look at these videos, I'm like, well, what is it? What are they trying to actually teach us? What are they telling? I don't view everything as like, oh, it's all a distraction. Because half the time people say that they don't even have a focus point. You talking about it's a distraction while you're still scrolling. You don't even understand what's being told to you right now. That's why programming is so easy. I told y'all in the last live, you got to think in the mind of a CIA agent. If you needed to encrypt codes inside of things, where would you put it? The easiest place, media, movies, where people are looking all the time. And you would watch numbly. Numbly is not a word, by the way. You would watch being numb, almost as if you were on lean yourself. You're not awake, you're not aware, your spine is not sitting up, right? When you're raising your Kundalini energy, you're expected to have your spine straight, standing 10 toes down, or sitting your ass on the ground at least, learning how to raise that consciousness or that frequency. When you leaned over, how can you ever like truly come into one with yourself? And so it's by no coincidence that there are substances associated with the same idea using that color and that frequency. It's a manipulation. So, acting out on the dream, bringing it to life. It's time to wake up, guys. It's time to wake up. We're not babies anymore. We're not babies. Mom has left you, and not left you like in the sense where she's not with you anymore, but she's kicking you out of the nest now. She's saying it's time to get up and learn how to walk again. If we know we've been given all the gifts by society and humanity, why y'all still out here complaining? Saying, oh, look at what they're not giving us. Look at the lack of representation. Then make it. Create it. Write it, sing it, dream it, mold it, do something. You got two hands, and those of you who don't have hands, you got a mind. For those of you who feel like I don't know how to access my mind, get creative, dance, sing, go in a flow state. Love is the ultimate balancer of all that, by the way, which is why we lost love songs for a really long time, y'all. People still put them out here and there, but there was no era like the neo soul era. There was no era like the neo soul era. In fact, I found myself listening to some and I felt like a teenager again because that was the last time I heavily heard that music on the radio, people in their households. It just was not the same stuff going on. Exactly. Someone said on YouTube, in the year of the horse, it's time to get up and stand up on your dreams. I keep saying I'm gonna put this picture of the lady in red and keep forgetting it. Hold on, guys. I really wish I could play the song. But I believe what didn't Usher and Chris Brown have a video called New Flame where there's the lady in red too, where she's coming down the stairs. So think about like the stairway to heaven, or you can think about like the stairs on the Truman Show. The lady in red is said to be the distraction, right? In the Matrix, they say, oh, look, and he notices the lady in red, and suddenly all the agents are everywhere. Why is she the distraction? Do you think it was scripted that way, or do you think she's actually the distraction? What about Gary CGG, the numbers guy? Is he a comedian too? I don't know. I feel like I've heard of him. Hold on, TikTok. So heaven and earth are separated right now because of symbology of the lady in red dress. Heaven and earth are separated because people are in their phones, for one. So that becomes a replacement for the spiritual realm for most people, unless you know the difference. Earth is the material realm. And so think of that as the alchemical union between the solar and the feminine, the solar and the lunar archetypes. When they're separate, it's like mom and dad are divorced. They're not together anymore. They don't believe in love anymore. They've been separated. The force that is separating them right now is something that everybody has access to, the breath. Because when you rise in consciousness, when you breathe, when you're in tune with oxygen, which by the way is symbolized in the periodic table by the number 8. So think about the infinity cycles, think about Kundalini energy, think about spiraling serpents rising in the staircase of the spinal cord, moving up to the crown chakra to reach enlightenment. You start to come to terms with what we really are in this reality, which are stars. You start to understand the symbolism that's been shown to you in music videos and shows for years. I mean, even like all the alien stuff. Doesn't Lil Wayne have a song called Phone Home? And then Nicki Minaj has a song called Beam Me Up, Scotty, where she's like an alien who drops down at a beach. And then I believe at Drake's It's All a Blur tour, he has himself looking up at a UFO. They've been telling us for a very long time, guys. It's can you see beyond the symbolism? Are you waiting around for something to come back, or do you realize these stories and how far they actually go back? But then everybody paused when Cat Williams was on Shannon Sharp, but then just refused to believe anything else after that. You got to listen to the story the first time. Home is where the heart is. Where's your heart? Red, exactly the color of the root chakra. So, and I think in this music video too, he's dressed as a plane captain. If y'all remember, he's dressed as a plane captain. So, what does that tell you? Ever seen the movie Soul Plane? Think of the show Soul Train. We're just going through a reality right now, trying to harmonize, sync back up. Think about, I think I also saw on Threads, they're trying to bring the Black Panther Party back. But I think it's just the idea of unification and fighting against the machine or fighting against these systems that people want. But the true fight is from within. The unification of the self comes from within, and you have to realize both sides and what they look like rather than just pointing the finger and playing the blame game, which is why I say look at symbolism. It'll tell you exactly everything you need to know. You mentioned Yakin and Boaz. Does it have to do with harmony or more like duality and division? Duality and division are the same thing. I mean, it's like a redundant concept, but yes, it's two opposites, like the yin and the yang. Dark and light both coexist together. You have to become unfrozen in order to liquidate and live in the now. Be creative. Water is liquid, it is adaptable. You make the water bend to you. You become a water bender. I know we all seen Avatar before, but think about how most of our planet is water. Think about how your body is 70% water. Think about music and the response of harmonics to water, the nature and the fluidity of voices, all unified as one. If you guys ever meditating, you know the sound of the universal Om. That's home. That was the home Dorothy was talking about in The Wizard of Oz. To get somewhere over the rainbow, to go somewhere outside of Earth's magnetosphere. She woke from the dream. And I told y'all, what was it, Stranger Things at the end of season 5? Sorry for those of y'all who haven't seen it. When Max wakes up in Lucas's arms. And just like, I didn't even need the music. Because y'all know they wore that Kate Bush song out real quick. But it was the exact same scene in The Wizard of Oz where Dorothy wakes up. And she realized she didn't need anything. She just needed to know where home was. And that's really all you need to make it through there. I know y'all waiting to go through a glowing portal and make it to the other side, but that's also something in your mind. You know, TikTok is a portal. Instagram is a portal. Facebook is a portal. The whole internet is a literal portal. Y'all are waiting for some Rick and Morty shit to happen, but it's already happening around you every single day. Didn't Taylor Swift also have a Red album, Katniss? Somebody on YouTube mentioned Taylor Swift. She has an album called Red. And remember, she had the song I'm Feeling 22. 22, like the 22 paths to the tree of life. 22, like the character in Soul. Remember Joe Gardner, played by Jamie Foxx, how he dies and then realizes he doesn't want to die. He wasn't ready because he wasn't fulfilled yet. Yes, his live will be on YouTube. Everything about this year is about waking up from the frozen state, thawing out your mind, thawing out that pineal gland, waking back up again, moving with fluidity. I thought we would have had flying cars by now. I mean, I'm sure they exist somewhere, just not here. I'm looking to make sure I'm not missing any of you guys' comments. Taylor did a song for that first Hunger Games movie. She was also the character Rosemary in the movie The Giver. I don't know if you ever read the book The Giver, but it's basically about humanity losing its colors, losing its essence, its memories, and becoming essentially numb to the world. And so she plays the daughter of the first giver, who then passes on his gifts to a boy named Jonas. It's actually a really good book. The movie was decent too. Taylor Swift's part was very minimal in there, but it was interesting that she was in there too. Yo, so are we in the Matrix for real? I mean, yes. But the Matrix is mentioned in the Bible, y'all. Did you know that? The Matrix is mentioned in the Bible. I actually think I have the verse because I featured it on my last podcast episode, which you guys can catch this week. It was just posted. I'm gonna post the Bible verse that they talk about the Matrix, and it's actually in a few Bible verses now that I think about it. And no, I'm not here to bring y'all to church. I just remembered that it was in the Bible, and I didn't even mention it. It was the person who I was interviewing, who was talking about it and mentioned it because we were just talking about the whole story of the Matrix and Christ symbolism and how it's tied in. It's Exodus 13:12. Thou shalt set apart unto the Lord and openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. Interesting that they mention that. I don't like to call it church, y'all, mostly because I ran away from church, even though a lot of times I come in live, y'all be like, this is my church. I'm like, I actually did not like church. I fell asleep in church all the time, which is why this feels so boring right now without music. But, they license the music and they'll block the live if not. So, what are your thoughts on religions? Is the binding and rebinding of groups together on shared, I won't say shared psychosis, shared ideas about consciousness? But consciousness is for each person to discover on their own. I don't think it's anything that you're necessarily bound to, but just know that the same practices of religion also have controlling hands in the financial world and the political systems. And when they're binding you to their beliefs or their ideas, you are not liberated. You are acting on someone else's will. And this is about coming back into the willpower of self. I don't like using psychosis because I hate when people try to use that on me. Like, y'all don't even know how to spell psychosis. You can't tell me one thing about the neurological process of the brain, much less what it is to go into altered states of consciousness. What you're telling me is that you can't handle copious amounts of information at one time, process it, and still be able to eat a healthy lunch and go outside. That's usually just trolls on the internet, large language models posing as real people using language that's going to affect your psyche. If you shared something that you thought was brilliant, right? And you come on social media and let's say like 10 people get it. And there's 3 bots in there who say, "Oh, I made it to schizo talk. Oh, this is psychosis. Y'all need to go outside and touch grass." Like, first of all, you got to know yourself very deeply to not let things like that affect you. Two, it would help if you were a millennial because we experienced life before we were heavily on the internet. So I know that half y'all wouldn't say this shit to me in person. If you did, we'd probably be fighting. But also, I'm too grown to be fighting because it doesn't require my physical essence in order to remove you from my life. It's a button called block. So y'all should use it a lot. Okay, yeah, the Matrix is mentioned multiple times in the Bible. Let me take this Bible verse now because I don't want y'all to think we in church right now. I just wanted to show, like, oh Lord, she about to bring us back to church. I do find it funny though that in the past week, Drewski went viral and got the church in shambles right now because they don't want to admit the practices that are reflected through the congregation of the children who were brought into these systems and said, this is what church is. This is what it should feel like. But it's funny when we see it. That just means like when you see trends like that, it should signal to you that this is why it's being shown. This is what the collective consciousness is being fed right now. And do we see beyond the program? I have to watch your new interview again. Oh yeah, you guys watch my latest interview with Rex Lee and Merle Garrison. I'm breaking my own matrix in different ways. So I never thought, when I was in a different frame of mind, I never thought when I just framed myself as a Black woman, right? I never thought that I would be in a room with people who had been speaking to those who work in political, I'm trying to say, in political positions of power, people who have access to rooms that I would never be allowed to enter. And by allow, I really just mean the programming that made me think that I did not belong in these rooms, and speak about the framework of how the Matrix is built. People who are willing to be forthcoming and honest about the way that surveillance and massive surveillance is embedded into smartphones, into our modern day technology, and how we agree by acceptance to be a part of this system. And so when I really started seeing, wait, you're actually that girl, because who else is coming out on social media using their platform to not just do another song or dance, but to educate about what this matrix actually is? That it's not just a buzzword, it's not just a documentary, it's not just a story that's been written, but it is a repeat impulse of human behavior coming to awareness of the self. And I stopped saying, oh, it's not that you don't belong. It's that this particular time in history has prepared you to come into social media platforms and speak about something through a language that most people do or do not understand. Y'all understand the symbolism of pop culture. You understand what it is when you see a music video, when you see a singer or a rapper or, anybody creating a piece of artwork, something that connects with your consciousness. And I'm here to bridge those two worlds together. You can learn about the tech world. You can learn about artificial intelligence and not have people on here saying, oh, yeah, it's killing the environment. Yeah. Okay. Then tell me how our entire world is built like a simulation. And I mean the architecture of cities, ley lines, underwater cables. Like there's so many different places that bring this together. And when I broke my dream, this is like me breaking my own water because y'all, I have two kids, right? When my water breaks, it's like your water of consciousness breaking. You're breaking yourself out of the amniotic fluid to be reborn again, like when Neo wakes up in the pod and pulls the cord out of his mouth. Interesting that they always do that too, because even in Stranger Things, when Vecna had all those kids, he had a cord in their mouth because it's the breath. And so when you're severing the breath, remember how Doechii had that song Anxiety out here and people were repeating that shit? Like, stop repeating that you have anxiety. You don't think that that's casting a spell or an illusion over your mind, repeating that for a trendy TikTok? Know the difference. What you speak carries and follows you. I went through an actual psychosis at age 15. Let me ask you this. If you didn't have a word for psychosis, what would you call it? If we didn't live in a modern day society and you did not have a word for psychosis, what would you call it? Somebody on YouTube asked this, by the way. Oh, well, thank you. Someone said you're very rare. I know no one else with your depth of perspective. They do. I'm showing you who has it. J. Cole is one of those rappers that does have it. There are rappers who are not mainstream who do have it. And I listen to them because the masculine is my balancing force. I'm a feminine being by nature, but I do also have masculine tendencies. And that just means I have a mind that operates on logic as well as spirituality. So, as much as I'm embedded in my femininity, I can listen to a hard piece of rap music and be like, that's what he was talking about. He must have sat there and studied. Men do their studies. You know how many like videos I've seen on different rappers and breakdowns? I'm like, so this means y'all can apply yourselves. Okay, so let me learn something from you then. I love that. And like y'all probably heard me code like Frank Ocean, Kendrick Lamar, Drake tons of times, but that's because my mind knows how to look for power. And if I'm looking for power, I want to know how you're distributing said power through voice, through sound, through algorithms and music. You may look at it as just the entertainment industry, but the entertainment system becomes the entrainment system. And if you don't know what you're looking at, you're easily influenced by it. Everyone wants to be an influencer. Don't know honestly. Okay, someone's responding to my question about psychosis. I don't know honestly. I just felt like something I couldn't explain happened to me. The hospital named it psychosis. All right. If there wasn't a hospital, what would you name it? I'm making you think because you got to think about when language was created, when certain practices or different degrees or channels of the mind started to be called something else because science tends to shape and frame stories in a way that feels cold and mechanical. And so, if you don't understand it from a spiritual aspect, you just use the word psychosis. And it really wasn't until TikTok that I've seen people using that word massively. Like, I don't even remember that on Instagram or Twitter that those days because people are just now becoming comfortable in the past few years speaking out about spiritual knowledge in a way that doesn't minimize it to just crystals and tarot cards. They're diving deep into these subjects that have been untouchable to most people because the mainstream would say, oh, that's just this or that. I'm like, y'all, we can go run back a few music videos and I'll show you plenty of stuff. Cardi B is an example, right? And I don't really like going into, rappers and stuff all the time. But when I do, we'll go back to some music videos. She has a music video called Up. In the Up video, she has her tongue out and she has different like little Barbie heads all around her. She's symbolizing the goddess Kali there. But who would know that watching the music video unless they already had insight on who Kali Ma was? Why, you have to ask, why would she do that? At the beginning of the video, she steps on a grave on top of a man. If you've seen the pictures of Kali Ma, she is standing on a man holding a severed head. And so you think, oh, Cardi B is that deep. It doesn't mean she's that deep, but don't think that there are not people who work behind them who know these stories and mythologies. Let me clarify. It's the way you narrate, coding and decoding, and offer a narrative framework. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think I have a problem accepting compliments too, but it's mostly because I just find all creatives very fascinating and I think it's worth having real conversations about. I'm not the person who's going to write everything off as like a ritual, even though rituals are very real. I just want people to be able to go back, as all these 2016 trends keep coming up. I want people to be able to access their own memories and then go back and be like, what was I actually being shown then? Has it shaped my life in any way? What's like one piece of work, one piece of music, one video that really stood out to me? And if so, why? Is there a story, a greater story to be told that predates millennial culture? That predates, the 1950s, before the Cold War? Is there something ancient that keeps repeating itself over and over that we have not yet learned from? Because when you learn the lesson, when you don't have to keep coming back. I know everybody's like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose to be here. Your soul keeps coming back because it's still trapped in its carnal state. And in its carnal material state, it still seeks desire. It still seeks the lower chakras, the lower level entities of being. When you rise in that frequency, that's when you move up on that scale. And what they refer to as these angels, these beings of light, light is data, it's information, it's stories, it's algorithms, but it's also, when we talk about the fallen angel, we're also talking about ego. So if you go back and listen to like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, you listen to those songs, Savior, I think says like Kendrick is not your savior. Cole is not your savior. I do believe he was being very truthful in that. But also understand like duality has to be mirrored through these stories as well. Swimming pools, right? Or Formation with Beyonce, where they're dancing in a giant empty swimming pool. We're talking about an empty vessel, an empty womb. It all does go back to the divine feminine. It goes back to channeling source energy and source consciousness because she's been forgotten. And I'm going to show y'all how she's been forgotten too. Someone said, I love these questions. Psychosis without the pathology of hospitals is when the spirit roam in the land of not blur enough for you to be awake in every realm and remember. That is such a beautiful answer. Thank you for that. That was a beautiful answer. Happy Mardi Gras. Yes, y'all, it is Mardi Gras season. I am going to be going to the parades. Don't know which one yet. But if y'all are in New Orleans, I'll see you there. Well, the word psychosis, the Greek word psyche, means mind. So you're in your mind. That means you're using your brain. Now, it can be a little corrupted when you don't have a support system and when there's been a whole environment or sandbox built to dismember you from your own mind. Because remember, when Osiris was dismembered, he was cut off at the phallus. The phallus is the creative force. That's why they make so many rockets. We're going to take these rockets into outer space. We're going to penetrate the cosmic field. I'm going to pull up another picture, you guys, to show you about the divine feminine and what they think it is now. And by what they think it is, that's because we know what it actually is. But think about all the videos y'all probably see on TikTok talking about the Statue of Liberty. Oh, that's Lucifer. Who's Lucifer? Who's Lucifer? Lucifer, son of the morning? Rewrite those words, son of the morning. Are we talking about a male child? Or are we talking about the solar energy? We're talking about the morning. Are we talking about the daytime? Or are we talking about what someone does after something dies, after it's forgotten about? I can't justify using AI to myself. You might have to elaborate on that. Mac Miller does have an album called Divine Feminine. He had a Divine Feminine counterpart, but they did not meet in the middle. They did not meet somewhere in the middle, which is why you saw Wicked. You saw the stories with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. I'm gonna hold my phone for a second because it's gonna die. Have you watch it? Watch what? Wicked? Yeah, I watched Wicked. So you guys, the image that I'm showing is of Italy, and they did a parade. I think this was like a couple years ago, of a black woman in an orange jumpsuit as the Statue of Liberty in chains. And so if you consider the Statue of Liberty where it's at, New York, the financial capital of the United States, the center of Wall Street, where all currency is generated and runs through the market, the stock market per capita by the head. This is why you have cash cows, the feminine Stargate serving then as a burger, literally. It's a McDonald's situation. You make something palatable, you pass it around, sell it at a price, and then make sure that all currency is generated and runs through it. This is why the Statue of Liberty was originally copper. Think about copper being an electrical conductor, and then you sit her on top of water right there in the middle of Ellis Island or on top of Ellis Island. You got to consider why they're showing you these things. And remember, Italy, what that's the home of Rome, home of the Vatican. How do we reconcile the effect data centers have on our ecology? You use the internet. What's the difference? Is there really a massive difference between you using the smartphone right now that's connected to a data center and using artificial intelligence? I think that it's becoming a moral issue for people right now because they're listening to every other conversation without examining what artificial intelligence actually is. They're griping with the loss of the old world and the invoking of the new, which it's really not new. It's just a replication of a world that's already existed. If you consider that the internet is ran on cables in the ocean, and ocean is cosmic space, it is not confined. They cannot go as deep as the ocean is because the ocean is undefined. There's not a measurable space there, making it literally like the dimensions of space time. And so, if this very thing that you're using in your phone is navigating through space time, through water in the cosmos, why aren't you griping with your internet provider, but you're griping with AI? What's your thoughts on the Neuralink? That they use the symbol of the Ouroboros, just signifying another beginning and ending of gnosis for a lot of people? I've been on a Mac Miller kick lately. One of his recent music videos, Ladders, looks like the PG Lang logo pattern. I'm gonna have to watch that. Mac Miller, especially during his Macadelic era, has a lot of interesting work too. I believe he was in tune with the divine feminine and was seeking Sophia or the Shekinah, which is the divine feminine as well. They called my awakening unspecified psychosis and tried to strip my identity away in an institution. All I learned was that you need to be very careful how you communicate visions in the matrix. You know, I've never experienced that, guys, and I think it's because I'm someone who's worked with sacred medicine. I got an understanding on the mind very early. At 19 years old, I had my first psychedelic revelation. And when I would hear about people getting psychosis, I didn't quite understand it until I started to learn that there wasn't a support system to continue old practices that was mainstream. That healers, people who have worked as shamans, they were the very ones that were studied by the same scientists that would later on go to infiltrate the counterculture revolution, which is why you probably see a lot of celebrities now talking about this. I think Childish Gambino mentioned it on his album. Think about like 2016 with Chance the Rapper and Acid Rap. Then when it got acquired by Apple Music, man, there were so many gems and keys left for us that if we really just go back and examine this, we can see what was going on and how it massively changed, but now they're trying to reinvoke that. I think that's what is being searched for, not by like a person per se, but the energy being reactivated through 2016 is the last enlightenment period that we had before the lights went off. They went off for a lot of people because as smartphones became like a third arm for a lot of people, it changed the way that we receive information, our processing, our reaction time, our dopamine addiction, our need for self validation and gratification as well. And so now that people are coming into awareness, but they're posting these pictures, it kind of gives someone a biological or biometric profile into what you were at the time, what you were doing, what trends you were participating in, which then becomes like an algorithmic prediction system. Like I can tell what you're going to do right now because you're doing the same shit you did in 2016. Kendrick also spoke about this woman on his album Damn, the first album. He has a song DNA too. And DNA is also like Diana, which is goddess of the moon. And in my video I just posted for y'all, in fact, I'll pull up a picture of it. I did a video on the Emerald City and Oz and Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I spoke about how he accepted a Grammy from Diana Ross. And if y'all know, Diana Ross played Dorothy in The Matrix. Or not in The Matrix, in The Wiz. Same story though. Same story, same idea, same concept. I'm trying to think what happened in 2016. I really don't remember what I was doing. And I think that's a good thing. Because that means I wasn't so immersed into social media that I was like always on my phone taking pictures. I was out there living life. Y'all, millennials were living life. We had, what you call it? Young, wild, and free days. Mac and Devin go to high school. Probably smoking way more than I should have been too, but you know what? It was life. You know, we weren't so tethered into the phones at that point. Hold on, I'm gonna look for my picture from the video. I do miss it, but like when they were like, take me back to 2016, I'm like, absolutely not. You will not drag me back into 2016. I've had so much character development since then. I would never trust 2016 me with what I do right now. I would be like, girl, you're not even ready. You have to go through life. And I was sitting there thinking yesterday, I was like, has life really hardened me over the years? And I know hardened sounds so bad, but I think it's matured me a lot. Matured me to see beyond the BS, to remember a world before it became what it is now, and to know that that world still exists for a lot of people who remember it. As long as something is remembered, it can be kept alive. So it's kind of like the same with the divine feminine. If we remember what it has given us, remembering, like we're remembering Osiris, we're piecing him back together, we're piecing back the creative force of humanity and learning that we are the originators of the story, then that's how you save the world, you save humanity. Because, you know, a lot of times people come in the live like, Taylor, how do we beat the elites? How do we do this? I was like, first of all, you in a one-handed fight, one arm behind your back, gagged, asking me, how do we fight back a system that was self-created? And yes, it was self-created up to a point. No, we didn't ask for it physically. But the only way you take power and control back is looking at the power that you already have versus where it's been distributed at. Because you're outsourcing it a million different ways. Like, you want me to say, oh yeah, meet them at the block of this and square up with Jeff Bezos, and then you'll have saved the Matrix. Like, it doesn't work like that. It takes a sense of maturity to know that it's the inner work that has to be done in order to come into the next steps of this reality. And again, we've been given clues and hints and keys all over the place. The question is, are you using them? Are you using your own gifts? Are you using your abilities? Are you a storyteller? Are you someone who's transitioning these stories through the matrix as well? You know, it's a buzzword, but like very few people really understand how it works. And that was something we talked about in the podcast. I have a couple episodes coming out this week, guys. If you haven't, check out the episode I did with Rex Lee and Merle Garrison, available on my YouTube. And then I have another special guest named Karen Palmer who will be on this week. We just recorded the episode, so it'll be posted on the 20th. And we're talking about her work with artificial intelligence to help people learn focus and learning how to stay in tune with the body. She uses an app she invented called Consensus Gentium, which means we the people. We the people agree to this reality that we're in, and as long as there's enough belief in it, it will continue. But resistance, true resistance, also comes from action. Acting on your dreams, acting on your beliefs, acting on your ideas, and creating a world that you want to live in versus waiting for someone else to hand it back to you. There's not a day Donald Trump is going to be like, yeah, you guys are the real controllers. Why would they tell you that? This is something you have to figure out for yourself. It's not something you wait around for someone to hand you and be like, yep, here you go. They've given you a million movies, a million shows. They give you award shows. They give you fake beefs. When are you going to wake up to yourself is the question. That's the real Matrix. The first Matrix was your mother. It was the feminine. It was where you lived without question, without needing or wanting for anything. So when are you going to reawaken to that? That's the real question. J. Cole's talking about the fall off is real because eventually the world will catch up with you. You stay focused long enough, you will reach your dreams. And by focus, it doesn't mean you have to sweat out your life every single day. It means you need to be in tune with your mind, with your body, with your dreams, with your abilities. Your dreams are where you find freedom because there you can't collapse a reality. You can only intercept it, control it, put subliminal programming during the daytime. You know, what you're watching on TV, these movies, these shows. But if you are someone who becomes well versed at reading symbolism, learning how to see beyond the program, that begins to change over time. Oh, yeah, and that's right. Someone said all I remember from 2016 was music. That's all I remember. That's all I remember, clubs and I remember music. And it's funny because like millennials, we were like business casual, ready for the club. But I remember being harmonized with music mostly. Like I was a Tumblr girly, right? I was one of the original Tumblr girlies. I wasn't a popular one, but I was definitely on there. I was a photographer then. And I remember just like it was just aesthetics and vibes and a few Four Locos. Y'all, did you know I just found out Four Locals were supposed to be split between four people? Did y'all know that? I did not know that. Like, and y'all wonder why our asses were dead. But clearly we're immortal because somehow we lived through that. When I saw the video, someone say it, and I was like, oh. And I thought there's this one memory, y'all. I deleted a lot of my stuff. I deleted my old Facebook page from like that I had since high school. So y'all will never find that metadata is gone. You will never find those images again. But there were definitely ones of my friend did. I think I was drunk off of Four Loco, and I ended up sleeping in a bathtub. I've seen people having fist fights before locos. I'm like, why did they give us legal codeine? That was so wrong. That was so wrong. What do you think about the clown trend? The killer clowns. It's right in tune with Pennywise. No, no, you're not spamming. I'm just looking back and forth between YouTube and blabbing my mouth and stuff too at the same time. Inevitably, I know that my spirit was put in that place to witness far more than I could have without the experience. That's how I feel about my psychedelic revelations. When I had them and I tried to come back and talk about them originally, I felt like a psycho. Like I remember my first Mandela effect and I tried to tell my best friend and they were looking at me like I lost my mind. I'm like, "You guys, they said that the show was called Sex in the City and it's Sex and the City." Or I'd be like, "Did you remember the Monopoly man had a monocle?" And they looked at me like I lost my mind. That was around 2016. You see how developed I am now? I even got my best friend just bought the Ethiopian Bible. And I'm like, you see, this is the influence you have on people over time. And we all do on each other. It's like people will come to consciousness one way or another, or they'll stay asleep forever. That's the reality of it. But there's enough keys, clues, hints that have been put out here for us by now to understand it. For example, Nicki Minaj, right? She's been a very popular topic. I'm like, did y'all not listen to Pink Friday when it came out? I was in high school when Pink Friday came out. Did I know the esoteric meaning behind Pink Friday when it was released? No. When I was singing along to Roman's Revenge, did I have any clue about the Roman Empire and the Vatican? Absolutely not. Now that I'm a 33-year-old woman, have examined history, mythology, lyrics, album releases, gematria, numerology, I can see it a mile away. And I'm like, oh, that's what she was talking about? Well, why can't the rest of the world see that now with all this Erica Kirk shit? I'm like, because there's been a massive blinder put over humanity. And so if you cannot tell the difference and you're also integrating that with the whole new generation of iPad kids, people have only known the internet and never known life outside of it, it's foreign to them and they don't know. It's like talking to an alien. What are psychedelic psychosis? Did you guys actually see some interesting stuff or what? I feel like I'm missing out on something. I didn't put psychedelic and psychosis together. I've had psychedelic experiences, but psychedelic is a westernized word, by the way. That's a Western word. I refer to it as sacred medicine, but if I'm explaining it to someone who doesn't know, I have to say that because that's the framework people understand it. If you watch a video with like Timothy O'Leary, Ram Dass, Alan Watts, you know, these people who are very popular during countercultural era, the Grateful Dead, Journey, you know, the Beatles, anyone who was talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire, psychedelic revelations, it was spoken about through music because it's knowing about the afterlife, what we come from, that the human eye, like our brains, have a very condensed version of reality. And people get excited about it. It's like, oh, I want to try it. I want to. It's not for everybody. My experience happened organically. It didn't happen because I was seeking it, it sought me. and it created my experience. It showed me myself. Like, I know a lot of people who call on deities and gods and all that. And in my personal experience, I saw myself as an old woman at the end of the journey. I didn't see anything else. And that's just my personal experience, right? Because I know like galaxies and, different beings exist everywhere. But at the end of the journey, I saw myself. And I realized this is you going through your initiation. It's you rising into consciousness for yourself. Heard your story. I felt kindred to you. I accidentally took a heroic dose in 19 and 22. The first time started with 35. Started lucid dreaming the second time, went to the third eye. Yeah, we're kindred spirits for sure. My whole podcast talked about it, and I stopped for a while because I didn't like. I remember when I first came out with my podcast talking about sacred medicine, and at the same time I was pregnant with my second child, about to have her actually. I was about 32 weeks pregnant. And the show or the video game The Last of Us became a show on HBO. If y'all have ever seen it, it's like about like these cordyceps mushrooms that are like attacking people. And when I started off, it was going so good because I was connecting with people in like California, Mexico, having like real conversations about what it meant to shift consciousness. But then people got a little obsessed. And I knew the obsession is like when you get obsessed with a topic, but you don't know how to ground in it, right? Like I talk about this stuff for a living, but I felt that it would take away from people being able to integrate their material reality with the spiritual. And so I stopped for a while. Then I got shadow banned and I just kind of moved on with TikTok when it started becoming a thing. But that's the essence of my journey. It wasn't the one thing that woke me up. I believe, I've always known about my life and what it would become. But life is an initiation. It's not like you take a magical pill and then all of a sudden you know all the secrets to the universe. Because I know a lot of dudes who spit Gnostic knowledge all day, but they're missing the spiritual aspect to it. So they can red pill you all day, but they can't like integrate the red and the blue pill to have the purple or the consciousness or the awakening. I remember you made a prediction of the Broncos winning the Super Bowl a while ago. It's looking true so far. They won 33-30. See, I'm still not trusting my prediction yet. It got me off topic. But I'm not trusting my prediction yet because I felt like if the Broncos won, it would be like the Trojan horse because we're actually, if they go to the Super Bowl happens a week before we go into the year of the horse. We're still in the year of the snake according to Chinese mythology until or Chinese astrology until February 17th. So a lot of the stories I'm seeing repeated right now are of Homer, the poet Homer, and the Odyssey, which, if y'all remember, I had a post go viral on The Simpsons. And I know y'all are probably so sick of me talking about it, but it is connected to like the 6-7 trend too, because this is the day Frank Ocean released the song Pyramids. And on the cover art, he had The Simpsons. So think about the show The Simpsons. That video I had go viral that did like 2.8 million, talking about The Simpsons and how like Homer was like a tomb in ancient Egypt, Marge Simpson and her tomb being found in ancient Egypt, but her name's obviously not Marge Simpson. It was Neat or Newt. And so Homer and the Odyssey is about the return home, the Trojan War. Think about Trojan and where you've heard that from. Y'all know we've heard Trojan before, right? I'm sure if y'all have practiced safe sex, you know what that is, right? But think about that in terms of mythology, right? And so during the Trojan War, you had the horse, which is also used in computer terms as a malware. It's a deception. Now, I've shown Beyonce the Levi jeans, the Western themes and pop culture that we've seen. Like there was a whole country revelation, I think, when Tanner Adele got big on here. Beyonce came out at that Christmas Eve performance on the white horse, dressed like the death card in tarot, which her whole archetype is associated with death. But Elon Musk in Texas, I think Megan Thee Stallion had done that song with I can't remember his name, but that Star song, and she's from Texas too. Texas being now the home of Tesla, the headquarters of Tesla. Or I don't know if they're the headquarters. I think the headquarters are in California. But Texas obviously being related to space right now and the innovations happening around it and how that connects back to the cosmic field as well. There's a lot of themes tying into spaghetti westernization, movies that you've seen about like aliens and cowboys. Think of like Toy Story with Woody and Buzz Lightyear. They're just repeated themes. Like if y'all like, oh, she's reaching, she don't know what she's talking about. Have we not all witnessed these same themes? Shows, movies talking about space aliens, westerns. Y'all seen Westworld? Watch all 4 seasons of Westworld. It will rock your mind. And this is a replica of a movie called Westworld that already came out, starring Yul Brynner, who was a Russian man. So it's the themes of the Cold War, mind control programming, robotics, MK Ultra. Like all of these themes are tying into the Super Bowl. So if you're wondering how I got all that from the Denver Broncos, the Bronco is the horse, right? We're talking about the horse. We're talking about not only like Sagittarius energy, because that's the centaur, but that's the sign in the house of philosophy, the ninth house in astrology. And we're talking about philosophy, travel. We're also talking about the rebirth of consciousness happening right now. The Super Bowl is being hosted at the same headquarters as OpenAI, near San Francisco, where Steve Jobs is from, Apple, home of the Golden Gate Bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge has the 2 pillars, as a lot of bridges do. And it's signifying something much greater about the world and the universe and the connection. What is she doing out there? Yeah, you don't need psychedelics to tap into awakening. I'm someone who will advocate for that every time. People who tell you that, like what I will say, people who get addicted again to anything, they want to stay and hold the frequency of what it feels like to reach beyond consciousness. But you can do that with breath work. You can do that with going within. You can visit the stars anytime you want to. It's about going within. This was just part of my journey. And it's like, you wonder how these stars and these celebrities channel. A lot of them do. I think even Kendrick Lamar talked about doing ayahuasca, even though when he said it, I was like, I don't know if it worked. Not that it has like a working effect. It's like it does its work on you. You become the conduit. You become the vessel for the medicine working through you. But it doesn't, it's not like a instant fix it pill, right? Sometimes it's deep shadow work that you're doing too. Meditation can definitely do the trick. Grounding. Yes. Go touch the earth. Feel the earth again. It vibrates. I feel like Avatar shows a lot of that. I mean, but it keeps it in a fantasy realm because if people see Avatar as a film and they're paying tickets to remember themselves again, I'm like, y'all, this Avatar stuff actually goes pretty deep. James Cameron is part of the Mars Colony, which is like a little boys club group. Elon Musk is in Occupy Mars. It is a thing, but I don't think they're talking about the actual red planet. The red planet is also in the crown of Hathor. So what does that tell you? You look at the crown of Hathor and you see a big red dot. What are they actually talking about? Are we going to Mars? Or are we going somewhere else? That's where like the lady in red and the Whore of Babylon symbolism ties into. Yeah, Avatar is because especially Awa, if y'all have seen us and you're in tune with like tech decodes, is it Google? I don't know if it was Google. They put out a quantum chip called Willow. And if you think about like the Disney version of Pocahontas and how they have grandmother Willow, it's always getting information from a great grandmother tree. I wonder why. And so Willow, the way that it's shown is related to quantum computing. And so trees are the oldest source of DNA that we have here. They are the ancestors. And I know that's so crazy because, like, oh, you're a hippie. Because no, I understand nature. I understand why these big tech companies want to, spot themselves in the Amazon rainforest where people do have conscious psychedelic experiences. If you ran a big tech company and you wanted all the data of all the world, wouldn't you visit some of the oldest spots that harness waters that are celestial, waters that have not been completely infiltrated by society, by the government? Like, I would want access to that too if I was an evil mastermind who wanted all of that. So it's like when you start connecting the dots, it becomes less like, oh, that's just hippie. And you start saying, oh, it's something that's actually primordial. What tech wants to access is primordial. It is spirit. It is akashic. It is ether. Y'all seen the fifth element before? That's what ether is, akasa or akasha. But Akasha is also the queen of the damned, queen of the dogs. Did y'all know the dam is the name of a mother of dogs? That's what Aaliyah was in that film. She was the mother of dogs. Why do you think on Buried Alive they calling on her name? Kendrick has a song called R.I.P. Left Eye, or the lyrics say R.I.P. Left Eye, R.I.P. Aaliyah. Buried Alive, an initiation into the Matrix. All that was missing was Aaliyah. Why? Who did she play? The queen of the damned, mother of dogs, Hecate, Isis, Venus. The mother of dogs is the mother of gods, the feminine Stargate, the one who burst them into the portal. That's why they kept calling on her energy, why they re-invoked Interview with the Vampire. I don't know if y'all saw that last season with what's his name? I can't remember his name, but he was like, I have or I think it was Lestat. He said, I have the blood of Akasha. She was the first vampire. But what are we talking about with vampires? Are we talking about like Vlad the Impaler, or are we talking about immortals? And that's something completely different. Y'all seen the originals, heard about New Orleans. There's a reason the Super Bowl was here last year. Why John Baptiste, who did the music for the movie Soul, why they employed him to do, I don't know if it was the Star Spangled Banner or he was just performing there, but there is a lot behind it. New Orleans is attached to the Louisiana Purchase, the origins of the United States, what they were, the land that they were building on. That's why the first Black Disney princess is from New Orleans. They're so funny. I swear they got a little crystal ball at Palantir where they can see into these things and like make it a movie. Yes, trees do operate exactly like mycelium networks, also like your neural synapses network in your brain. That's how we're making these connections. Oh, someone mentioned Willow. Willow is a movie from the 80s too, isn't it? They have Willow, they have Dark Labyrinth. There's another movie with David Bowie. I think it's like The Man Who Fell to Earth. There's so many like codes in the 80s too, because that's all we're really repeating right now. Think about the release of the first Macintosh computer in 1984 when they had that whole Super Bowl commercial directed by Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott also did Blade Runner 2049. If y'all have seen that one with Ryan Gosling, that's the remake of the original one. Y'all are fun today. I really wanted to play 6 foot, 7 foot. I want to play the music so bad. It would have been so live. We're gonna have to do a private stream where I can play music because this is not it. Maybe I should start using like Kick or something, but I don't have like a community on Kick. If y'all would come to Kick or somewhere where I can play music, I would. But it's always like the licensing agreements. Blade Runner 2049 was sick. I did like Blade Runner 2049. It was good. It had me rethinking a few things. Discord. Okay, I can stream to my Discord. This is an observation tank. This is Taylor's think tank. And when we start dropping in the music videos, the music, that's like us signaling to each other, waking back up again. And waking up doesn't feel like you got a bunch of money in your bank account, because that's like you still wanting the carnal desires. It's more like opening up the limitless space of reality and understanding anything is possible. Looking at the bread in circuses, identifying, because that's a skill, y'all. This is what I do for a living. Like some people like, oh, you just do this because no, I did it for free for a long time. And then I realized that the same temples that were created in the names of goddesses housed the priest, the traders, the writers, the scribes that were telling you all of these stories. And all I'm doing is carrying on ancient work that's already gone on. And there are many people like me doing the same work. We keep the story going by keeping it alive, not forgetting who we are and where we've come from. No separation, all is one. You can use the fair policy too. Okay, I'll check that out. Um, I'm owning operating system. That's Oz, y'all. The Wizard of Oz is the wizard of the operating system. The Oracle Corporation. Think about them being owned by Sun Microsystems. I'm so nosy when it comes to like knowing who owned things because I remember I was doing decodes on Men in Black and I was like, what if Men in Black was IBM? IBM was one of the largest computer tabulation companies ever. Because everybody's like, oh, we live in a simulation and it's computer generated. I'm like, I absolutely believe that shit. I do. I believe that you need the framework of the reality, the memories of the people, the genetic DNA to re embody the same stories. The question is, are you going to become aware of yourself again? I did watch Tron Ares. Someone asked if I that a new Tron just came out. I watched Tron Ares. I think Evan Peters is in that. Remember Evan Peters plays like an Osiris character too a couple of times. He's in American Horror Story Coven where he ends up getting unalived and then they put his body back together and put like a pentagram on him. And then he also plays Quicksilver in WandaVision. And remember, Quicksilver is WandaVision's brother. He's originally played, I think, in the movies by Aaron Taylor Johnson. But then he comes back in WandaVision, but it's not really him. Like, it's an actor who's pretending to be him. You were shrewd to make a business from the mystery. I tried to, but the Academy kicked me out. Who's the Academy? Who's the Academy? I said I'm taking back the goddess codes. Y'all not gonna take my own kingdom from me forever. You know, you gotta build it yourself sometimes. If I'm gonna watch the Bashars and the Abraham Hicks and the Bob Proctors and all of them make money off of things that were specifically for, teaching evolution in people, who am I to gatekeep, right? And so my idea, even when y'all get decodes from me, I say, let me be the last person you get a decode from. You don't need another tarot reading. As someone who was obsessed with readings in my early 20s, at some point I was like, when are you just going to learn the lesson? When are you going to do the work and study astrology, numerology, study your own personal patterns and codes? And so the systems that I've created are to break down your archetypes, your characters. It's not necessarily to identify one past life, because y'all, you've embodied multiple consciousnesses in multiple lives. You probably don't even know that you have other avatars running around right now. The question is, are you in sync with your life and your story? How do I become in sync with my life and my story, Taylor? What are you resisting in your life right now? What have you not worked through yet? What are you still looking at Nicki Minaj or Cardi B or Summer Walker or anybody else to tell you about yourself? They serve as mirrors. But mirrors, people can also play magic mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? Have you seen yourself yet? Have you been able to take back your story? Because whether you like it or not, you can't avoid everything being mined and collected as data. I have enough consciousness to know, even as I speak, as I show my face, as I'm using and subscribing to using a social media application that is taking my facial algorithm, my voice, my words, my thoughts, and my ideas, and harnessing that as data and information, not maybe from a personal level, but from a data level. I'm not stupid in knowing that if I saw this on TV today, someone saying what I said or a variation of what I said, I shouldn't be shocked, because I allowed the system to do that. But I take my voice and power back in knowing I could choose to hide away when someone says I have psychosis. I could choose to go get a 9 to 5 and hope and pray it all works out and that I won't be in an ever looping cycle forever. Or I could do the very thing that I love, talking about culture, music, hip hop, R&B, politics, finance, and open people up to worlds they never would have opened the door to before because they didn't think it was accessible to them. That's how your life changes. I used to be a professor. I research information history for the past 2,000 years. You got to keep doing that. We need the school, bring the mystery schools back. No more Dr. Umar schools. Bring back the mystery schools. Y'all, I have mystery school packages on my class. I know other educators who have them as well. Invest in your education. And if you can't invest in your education, go visit archive.org and just start looking things up. Follow your interest. You don't have to start one particular place. Follow your interest. Follow what you're interested in. What are your thoughts on Freemasons? They're builders. They're exactly what they are, builders. What's a Mason? What's a stonemason? They study architecture, study rhythm, they study music, they study mythology, stories. They're builders. I don't really have any thoughts towards them. They're brotherhoods, they're groups that keep the knowledge of the stories that are protected and not necessarily mainstream within their own little framework of consciousness. But they're also free Masons. Masons, Ma's sons. Where do you get the knowledge from the divine feminine? It's her son. Her son thinks he wants to be a creator too, so he has to recreate for himself. I don't spend too much time thinking about any group that I feel like has power over me, because I'm in control of myself. And even if I wasn't, my control program, right? It's telling me to get up and follow my truth. I could choose not to. I could choose to just renegade my way out of 2026, but it's a little tired. So, what are your thoughts on the Anunnaki? Same thing. Older civilizations who knew the knowledge of the gods, the son of Anu. I think the same thing is reflected in modern day banking systems, the blockchain, centralized banking, political systems. Things people subscribe to because they need another system to tell them who they are, how to think, how to act, how to breathe, how to live. And so when you start learning the stories, you see, oh, we were already given a blueprint and a map, but there are people who've been following this map for years, and we wonder, why do they have all the power? Start learning your stories, then learn how power operates. As a Scorpio rising, I will tell you, there is nothing more that I love than understanding how power works. Because there's a lot of people who strut online like they got it and they don't. because it's a game, it's perception. I can look like I got power. Let me show myself in a Lambo. Let me show me my nails done. Let me show you getting on a fancy work trip or a plane. Whole time with artificial intelligence now, you can fake an entire life. You can be something you're not, and it's simply perception, how people receive you based on what they see and not what they feel. How do you think CBDCs will affect us? CBDC. What's that an anagram for? I feel like I know it, but I don't know the answer. What's CBDC? Y'all can answer if you know. So, how do we live a fulfilled life? Follow our intuition, follow your heart. I know it's so cliche. Just follow your heart and it'll all work out. You're like, but I got bills to pay, Taylor. I'm going to follow my heart. You can follow your heart and get your bills paid. Because life is not really worth living if you're doing something you're not happy and you become drained. Central bank digital currency, it's already affecting your life. Most companies have adapted some form of financial tech at this point. If you don't know what it is, if you don't know how it works, it'll impact you in different ways. Like when the housing crisis of 2008 happened, was that 2006 or 2008? If you have no clue how a mortgage even works, if you don't know what banking and lending systems are, then it's not going to do you any good. If you're applying yourself and studying, worlds can open for you. I'm not going to promise you the universe tomorrow, but you have to start somewhere. You have to become empowered in learning. What are your thoughts about elite genre inverted? I don't think about them. Ain't in my bed, not in my closet, my shower. I don't care. Do what you want. It doesn't impact me because I don't like subscribe to it. I mean, if you want to change yourself from a man into a woman, that's your business, not mine. What's the solution to depression and social anxiety? Community, creativity, music, dance, harmony. Very simple answers, very simple remedies to very complex problems. We overcomplicate things online these days. The academy got rid of me. I'm still recovering my whole life. Well, I'm not sure what academy you're referring to, but anybody can build anything they want to. I built a school. I didn't think that I could do it. I'm like, I don't have money to a royal charter. I don't have access to land. What I did have was access to a phone and my thoughts. Thought about how I wanted to build something and I did it. Doesn't mean that I have to have millions of students, though I've had hundreds and hundreds of decode sessions, hundreds of students who have taken my classes, attended my lectures. My work is not done. It's only just beginning. And so if I wait around and say, oh, they did this to me, they tried to get me in the past life, I'm sure they did try to get me in the past life. So what? This is 2026 now, or whatever year they're calling it. I don't live in the old stories that define me because they've already laid out the blueprint for who I'll become. That's my answer to your question right now on alchemy. I know people do past life regression because they want answers. I mean, it does help to an extent, but again, if you are not making active changes or, rearranging the script that was written for you, then nothing changes. If I sat here and worried about that, because I've heard so many conversations that are supposed to feel empowering but are not, because a lot of people still want the validation from, for example, white culture. They want white men to be the ones to hand them their freedom back. Freedom doesn't work like that. You want to be free from dominion, you have to stop making somebody above you. That's step one. Step two is stop waiting for the same media, culture, and control systems that major companies profit from for entraining your mind to tell you the truth. Because I get that question a lot too. They're like, Taylor, do you ever think there'll be a day where they reveal? No, I don't. I don't. Not in the way that you think. They'll tell you in a movie. They'll tell you in a show. They'll tell you in a Saturday Night Live joke. Do I think that they're going to be like, here's your freedom papers? No, I don't. At all. Same thing about the demiurge, just false creator, just replicating what Mother Earth already knows how to do. Yaldabaoth lion with the solar disc behind his head, false serpent. Same idea, same concept. Just calling it like you see it, y'all. You don't have to I guess when you want your thoughts on something, I think it's maybe to confirm something that you may already be thinking, which is why journaling is important, writing down the things that you're already thinking, what you're visualizing. confirmation does help, but it is an inner journey. So like I could tell you a million things right now. Like we started off the live talking about the 6'7" trend and Lil Wayne. And I could be like, oh yeah, y'all, did you notice that Inception was used or that The Matrix was used and that he referenced that? But people might answer and respond like, no, I didn't get that. That's your prerogative. You can go look at the video, compare and contrast, and see what was shown to me. And you may choose to think nothing of it. Because a lot, whenever I mention celebrities using like mythology or certain ideas, they'd be like, they're just celebrities. They wouldn't think of that. And I'm like, and that's why they're in the position that you aren't right now. Not because they're above you, but because when you use that kind of power and have an understanding of how archetypes work, not only do you get people who push and endorse you to continue showing that image, inverted or not, but they also become a massive program to other people as well. They try to adapt themselves. I want to be like Ice Spice. I want to be like Beyonce. I want to be like Nicki. Be like yourself, first of all. I find it funny that even in Gen Z, there's a term called gagging, like, oh, she gagged me. I'm like, do y'all even know what you're saying when you say that? And I know, like, nobody wants to hear the woke shit. Like, they're like, it's just a word, is it? They're gagging you. Y'all remember when Nicki Minaj released Gag City? And everybody was, oh my gosh, it was AI visuals everywhere. Do you understand what you're saying when you're saying it? It gagged me? What is a gag order? What does it mean to gag someone? Suffocating them or keeping them from speaking? So to say I was speechless, it took my breath, it took my language. I had no words to describe it. You better get some. Start describing it. Right, like for example, and this is again, when I'm telling y'all this symbolism, it's not to talk shit, it's just to bring awareness. Nicki Minaj on her Pink Friday album cover showed herself kind of looking like Glinda in The Wizard of Oz. If y'all remember, Glinda was the Queen of the North, or the Witch of the North, right? She had on like this large crown that kind of resembles Newt or Neat from Egyptian mythology. And so she had on all pink. Remember Pink Friday? Pink is a color of Freya or Frida, the goddess of love. Think of like Aphrodite. And so she used it on the album cover as she's outside of New York. If you know what New York City is, the financial capital, right? She's sitting outside of this and then she releases visuals called Gag City. Levi, Levi on your side, I'm in need of the blood of the lamb. Stop playing. Yes, and Friday is ruled by Venus. And we just talked about the Statue of Liberty being Venus. This is what I mean when I say you got bros on here trying to teach you spiritual knowledge. And by bros, y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. But they'll be like, and yeah, it's actually Lucifer and it's Solar Invictus. I'm like, it's also, baby, it's to represent Venus. It's to represent the divine mother that they demonize, but still use the same body of surplus, the fullness of the divine feminine, to give you a false Venus. That's like in the Renaissance era where they had the birth of Venus and she's a hermaphrodite. They've kind of changed up that story from the Venus of Willendorf. And so changing that during the Age of Enlightenment completely, I want to say, it altered the perception of what a lot of people view these religious figures as, or these spiritual figures as, during that period. And that was like in France too, if we think about like the work of Michelangelo. And you see it also, I think Ariana Grande has used that same symbolism as well. But even let me just tell you something, in Ariana Grande's God is a Woman, she does the creation of man at the end. And she's touching the finger of another black woman. So the position of the creator, I'm like, so if she knows and she showed y'all, there has to be something internally that's clicking about like Wicked and why these stories are shown to you, these albums, the symbolism that they're doing. The question is, how do you act on it? And Venus relates to Taurus and Libra. Yep. There was already some Venus symbolism at the beginning of this year with the president of Venezuela. His wife is a Libra. Venus, Venezuela comes from Little Venice, Little Venus. Think of Venice, Italy. Think about the boats in Venice and how they look like solar barks, like from ancient Egypt as well. Yeah, y'all need to use symbolism to your advantage. It will help you out greatly. If you're an artist, especially, because they do it all the time. There is nothing that you've seen in pop culture that's not symbolism. Y'all, I even ended up coding a NLE Choppa video. I didn't think I would do that. They were asking me to code, can you code the baby? I don't know about all that, but there is symbolism everywhere. You saw the Venus Venezuela ties. Yeah, there's a lot there. President Maduro, Venezuela. I remember, I don't know that anybody understood when I posted it, but Darcy Rodriguez, I think that's her name. Maybe that's not her right first name, but who's taking over for President Maduro. She reminded me of Gina Rodriguez, who was on a show called Jane the Virgin. Jane the Virgin is a Venezuela telenovela that talks about the Immaculate Conception. And so it's not just because her last name's Rodriguez, but it's like a mirror, right? Because movies and shows are channeling real events. But it's like scripting and casting and changing different parts of the story because people are just watching this. They ingest the media, then the stories are reflected back into their subconscious. Some people get ideas and they write stories having no idea where they come from, not realizing it's already a part of the mythology. Jane the Virgin was a good show. I actually watched that when I was pregnant for the first time. I hope you develop the confidence to build all of you. Because I've met so many talented people. Like some of y'all who've been watching my decodes for years, I've seen y'all start your own pages decoding. I'm like, that's what the fuck I'm talking about. Y'all need to start decoding. It helps the mind. It's a good exercise, not to fall into obsession, but to understand patterns. You wonder how people run companies like Meta and Facebook, because they are separate now. Um, or TikTok or Bebo or Tagged or Tumblr. It's the understanding of algorithms and how they work and how they respond to the human mind and brain off of memories. What you are interacting with on social media becomes a part of your Akashic records. If we consider the past, present, and future all coexist at the same time, then you know that we're probably already in the year 5000, right? And we're re experiencing through a virtual reality the archives of our minds. The question is, are you making a different decision? This is a goosebumps, choose your own adventure. Are you into the fallen state? Are you into the dream state? Or are you waking back up again to yourself? My BF's uncle was neighbors with the actress. I'm having issues fully grasping the underworld as a concept. Is it sleep, subconscious, or death? All of them. Being unconscious, going into the underworld, the unknown, the unseen, things that are not part of the mainstream of consciousness. And so going into the underworld, you're going below the levels of what is viewed in the material reality, like the ocean. The deeper you go, the more you find out. The darker it can get sometimes. But sometimes darkness is isolating, but it also awakens you. The deeper you go into the dark, the closer you get to the light. I'm looking at some of the comments. I wonder if I think I have some more pictures I can show you guys too. Oh, you guys also, let me post it on here real quick. I'm doing dream architecture decodes. If you are someone who is interpreting your dreams, since we're talking about the 6-7 trend and following dreams, I'm offering 5 spots this week to people who want to get a decode on their personal dreams. Now, I do offer other decoding sessions, but last week we worked on relationships, and this week I am offering one on dreams. And my spots do get filled up pretty quickly, so be sure to check it out via my website under the decoding section. I'm sorry. I'm posting it right now for those of you all who are on YouTube so you can see it as well. Give me a second. I've been doing this for years, but want to put in the actual work, but wary of where to go. What is it that you're looking to do next in life? Maybe I can offer some guidance. What is it that you're hoping to happen in your life? 2026 is going to be an activation year. We're going back into a 1 year. We just completed a 9 year, and now we're going back into a 1 year. So anything that you have not yet been stepping up to the plate for is going to come into fruition this year. Now, when you hear that, right? Because a lot of people, when they hear like, oh, your dreams are going to start manifesting this year, that does not mean that you don't have to put the work in. You do have to be an active participant in your life. Do not wait for something to happen. I feel like that's the rabbit hole that a lot of tarot readers take people down. They're like, and your life will change and the love of your life will finally come in. Newsflash, you're the love of your life. Newsflash, the dream that you're waiting on, you got to create it yourself. No one's going to hand it to you. The opportunities that you seek, who you want to become, that's something that happens internally. That's you going through the ring of fire, you going through the challenges to reach the awakening again. As someone who falls on their face every Taurus Scorpio axis season, I will tell you that that is when awakening comes, from the isolation, from the dark, from the navigating through the codes and consciousness. This is how you rise back into awakening with the self again. And you will experience glitches when that happens. So, what do glitches feel like? Sometimes it's like deja vu. If y'all remember that scene in The Matrix where like Neo's in there, he's like, "Oh, I saw a black cat." They're like, "What you see?" He's like, "Oh, it's like deja vu." She's like, "That means there's a glitch. You've already done it before. Now make the arrangements to change something." Because it's like placing you in the same environment that you've already been in, bringing familiar characters and people into your life. Can you call it out when it happens? And can you make the adjustments in your life in order to change that? Just activating my power and knowledge and lead my life, really. Well, I have personal decoding sessions, but I think like decoding yourself is something you can also work on as well. Identifying your archetype, your story, your challenges. Journaling is pertinent, y'all. And I don't mean in your notes app on your phone. I mean grabbing a pencil, some paper, and journaling out your feelings, your emotions. Some of y'all are musicians, some of y'all are artists, channeling it. That's how you channel orange. You channel into the sacral field of creativity and energy. Think about how many of y'all hold back because you're scared of what somebody else thinks. Who is somebody? Somebody you'll never meet, somebody you'll never show up in person for you. Stop doing that. The internet has enough ghosts and NPCs walking around on there. If online or even in person is a space in which you wish to co create with the universe, do that. There's no more time holding back anymore. We're not waiting for the ending because the ending already happened. Think about like how they've given all this like death, doom, and gloom about the Terminator and tech and AI. Tell me how many times you wake up and see this story and still don't change anything in your life. How many times you stay in the loop of the dream? Like what happens at the beginning of the 6 foot, 7 foot video and in Inception, you got to wake up. I'm not telling you to actually dunk yourself in a tub to wake up, though some of y'all like a shower may help. But learning how to wake up again, come back into the consciousness with the self, with the mind, and with the reality. Before getting into spirituality, I got a tattoo of Isis on my neck, on my throat. That's her telling you to speak up, say something. What if you literally can't? You literally can. I'm here to tell you, somebody said on YouTube, you literally can. All this writing that you're doing too, you are clearly a gifted scribe. You are a writer. You are someone who knows exactly what you're here to do. You're still listening to the mortal mind. The mortal mind is like, they might get you again, they might take you down, they might do, who is they? They don't shouldn't even exist in your world. The only thing that should exist in your world is your awakening. What's waiting for you on the other side to say yes to yourself? Say yes to the opportunity. Say yes to applying yourself. Because even though what I talk about is pop culture, this is still scholarly work. It took time for me to sit and examine music videos to find reference points. That's media literacy, which seems to be very dead online right now. But I think it's something that needs to be brought back, because if you can interpret this, I could probably put you in front of a computer language like Python and get you to start learning how to read computer code, because it's learning to read patterns. And once you read response systems, how language is created, you start to be able to view language in different ways. You can't tell me we lived in a time of encryption systems where we had nothing but sketches on the walls to understand things, and now you can't understand a simple trend going on social media. You have the abilities. It's just time to wake them up. This is not sleep talk. They tried to program people with that, with the whole Bad Bunny going into the rabbit hole. I think at some point in the news, they even show like mutated rabbits. It's time to wake up, y'all. Wake up from the dream. That's why they put Bad Bunny on a kid's bed. And a Little Red Corvette. Prince has a song called Little Red Corvette, by the way, too. What about people that have had severe trauma in early childhood and adulthood? For people who can't get past trauma, that usually occurs in the root chakra. The root chakra is security, is safety, it's survival. Until you learn how to survive again, to breathe, to allow self healing to happen, it's going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie to you and be like it's easy street. But that can't be where you live forever. We each have a home in every section of our body. Your first home starts at the root. It actually starts at the crown, but then you make a home in the root. When you are born into your mother's womb, you are seeded into the material reality. So you're seated here, right? You have to grow. But if you let people continue stomping on you, if you let situations shade or cloud the light that is supposed to come through to nurture you, to bring you back into awakening, you won't reach the different houses that you need to be in order to come back to the original home of consciousness. I'm not going to tell you it'll be solved tomorrow. You need to identify your weak points. Where is it that the trauma keeps coming up? Where am I feeling pain that I can't seem to overcome? What is attached to this pain? Like, start really paying attention to your algorithms. What am I looking at every time I feel this pain? What mood am I in? What am I wearing? What scents do I smell? Because all of this plays a part into your psyche. What were the last 3 videos I looked at on social media? What was the last 5 things I searched on Google? Because I guarantee you those data sets have already studied you. They already know what you're going to look at, what you're going to respond to. You got to start retraining your personal algorithm in your mind. Um, Trauma is healed in a lot of different ways. I worked as a sound bath practitioner. I worked as a yoga teacher. I'm a Reiki level 2 master. And so I learned before I got into all this matrix stuff, I worked on spiritual wellness first. And that was probably around 2016. 2016 is when I started mastering those gifts. But when I graduated from that, I'm like, okay, well, now that we got the spiritual body down packed, now we get to go digging into the caves and in the mysteries. So if you are experiencing that, I would say start to find and connect with practitioners if you feel like it's not something you can do alone, who specialize in internal healing and ancestral healing as well. But don't stay there forever because you have to let the wound heal. You can't keep picking at the scab. You have to let it heal so you can get stronger. It's muscle memory. You are training yourself to become the warrior of your own mind. And a lot of people, a lot of beings on social media right now are killing people in battle. They are unaliving them left and right with a few words. Schizo, psychosis, crazy. And people are letting that deter them from living in their truth. You let the algorithm tell you who you are, what you should be, what you should seek after or desire. It's like, no, you got to self-create that. What is it that you really want? Is it to be a celebrity? Is it to be Beyonce? Is it to be loved, to be celebrated, appreciated? Or are these things you can give and see in yourself? What's group 7? Don't know. I don't know where y'all been getting some of these topics from. I'll answer any of them best that I can, but I don't know. I know that you are the greatest story you will ever have. You are the greatest love story you will ever live. You are the greatest hero journey you will ever be on. And once y'all start actually living in that story every day, you're going to start writing your own. You won't keep watching, oh, did you watch this on Netflix, Taylor? Did you watch this on Amazon? No, I want to hear about your story. What have you made it past in your life? What have you overcome? What have you moved past? What's season 7 of your life look like? What do we get to learn? What kind of character development do you have? What do you think of the Bible? I think it's a book. I think it's a book. I've read books my entire life. It's a book with stories. Some true, some false, some exaggerated, some not, depending on which version. And there are many different versions. A virgin is a virgin, untapped until you tap in. I know a virgin's not really a virgin. It's really unmarried woman, but it's kind of the same thing because you're not spiritually bound to something. It's like Saturn's rings. You're not bound to a system. You're not bound to the constituents of the material reality. You can soar free, fly. Do you manifest every day? Every day of my life. I wish y'all could see some of my old videos. If you wanna laugh, because I don't mind people making fun of me if you do. I have an old YouTube called Curly Fro Indigo. This was when I was like 25, maybe 24, 25. I was reading tarot cards. I was talking about being on a spiritual journey for the first time. I talked about the 5 kleshas and Deepak Chopra. This was prior to him being on the Epstein list, by the way. But there was such an innocence about me then that, I knew I was going to be a teacher, but I wasn't quite there yet. Like I knew who I was, but I had to go through some things in order to learn who I was. So if you see that page, you'll see me, but you'll see a very different version. I've evolved a lot since then. I do not do tarot anymore, no. I mean, I know the tarot. You know, I can explain it, but I don't read tarot cards as a way to confirm the universe. It's like probability. If I wanted to do tarot, I go to casino and go play 21. Same idea, same concept. The stories are just a little bit more illustrated. I'd rather die working towards my dream. At least I'll be doing something rather than being in misery, doing something I hate. You know, Katniss, that was a part of my decode, my personal decode I did for myself. I was born in Missouri. Misery. That's what we call it for real. At least people who don't like living there. Misery, St. Louis, Misery. It reminds me of that movie Misery with Kathy Bates, where she wants the guy to finish the book and she locks him up in her basement. She also plays Delphine Delory in American Horror Story Coven too. The lady who was keeping all the slaves in her attic. I thought that was interesting. Anybody can do a decode on themselves. Anybody. Anybody. Look at your birthday. Look at the numbers. You can start by like looking up on Wikipedia or anywhere like what day of the year is it. So like my birthday, for example, I'll just give you examples, July 3rd. When I look at July 3rd, I pay attention to dates around that, like historical. Like my birthday is the day before the 4th of July, a day commonly associated with freedom or liberation. Um, 73, is it 73? 73, if you look up the mathematics behind that, is known as a sexy prime. It's a twin prime. And so if you see an image of it, it is the Star of David. When I was 19 years old, I got the Star of David tattooed on my arm. Did not know why. No, I'm not Jewish, at least not in that way. But there were signs and symbols that were always there. And so when I go back to like memories and stories and think about why I did that when I had no conscious thought of it, I realized that memories follow us even in the choices that we make and the things that we do. I would look at movies that came out on my birthday. Back to the Future came out on my birthday. The number one song when I was born was Baby Got Back by Sir Mix-a-Lot. And they're like silly things, but also like kind of confirmations too. So like you can do that and find funny things in your life all the time. I thought Back to the Future was funny because like Marty McFly and, you know, visiting different versions of yourself. I think that's something that I like literally do every time I do a decode for somebody. It's like meeting a variant of myself if one different choice or decision or bloodline was made. What does the Super Bowl symbolize? It's like a massive ritual. It's like looking into a bowl. Literally, you have a crowd of people surrounded around a stage, watching for different outcomes in a binary form. Do you want this team or this team to win? Based on the archetype of whatever mascot of the team and they're playing, kind of tells you the story of what's happening. This year's Super Bowl is at Levi's Stadium. So think about all the things about jeans that have been out lately. The controversy with Sydney Sweeney, her in the Americana movie, Beyonce and her Levi Strauss commercials, her song Levi Jeans with Post Malone. Post Malone's birthday is on July 4th too, now that I think about it. In 2016, Lemonade came out that had the song Freedom on it. Also, what was that other song? I can't think of it. It was in Louisiana though. She filmed most of Lemonade in Louisiana as well. So basically, all those themes from 2016 are coming back up, but they're going to take place at the Super Bowl this year. So it being the home of a lot of tech companies, taking place at the same stadium where the 49ers played. The San Francisco 49ers can connect to the California Gold Rush. The new Gold Rush is data, information, tech. Right now, OJ Simpson played for the Buffalo Bills and the 49ers, and his birthday is July 9th, connecting to the element of gold. So remember, I said gold, solar energy, connected to kings, connected to the masculine energy as well. I don't know that the Broncos are going to win, but do remember he got chased in a Denver Bronco after his case started or before the case started with Nicole Simpson Brown. He unalived Ron Goldman. Think about Goldman and Sachs, one of the biggest investment banks in the United States. There's a lot of decodes in that, y'all. What do you think about when that African elite dies in a helicopter? I didn't see that. I'll have to look into that. I looked up the holidays on my birthday, National Download Day. Yeah, do stuff like that to decode yourself. Absolutely. Living and studying in Northeast Missouri for 5 years. at that one Super Bowl. I was actually looking at the Super Bowl where Prince performed and it started raining while he performed Purple Rain, or I think he at least did Purple Rain there, so that was pretty interesting too. Because he's actually wearing the same colors that Taylor Swift wore in her album cover. There's like a teal and an orange color. Um, so I'm interested to see what Bad Bunny does in his performance because last year's Super Bowl was to bring out Black culture. This year's to bring out Latino culture, which is all connecting like the transatlantic slave trade, countries connected to the Caribbean. It's like that's what they're the demographic that is being channeled right now. Think about the stuff with like Turning Point USA, Candace Owens, because most people don't know. She doesn't talk about it. Her family is apparently from St. Thomas. So the Caribbean, all the stuff connected to the Epstein files, it's like those are connected to a lot of those priestly bloodlines in the Caribbean as well. And so that energy is also being, I won't say searched for, but mirrored. And you see it mirrored in the celebrity world, but also on movies and shows too. Y'all definitely should start decoding yourselves though. I would highly recommend decoding yourself. If you don't want to get a decode from me, decode yourself. Now, I am offering 5 spots for dream architecture decodes, but I do personal decode transmissions. I do live decoding sessions as well. Some of you guys have gotten them from me. You can check the Discord or my website, but I am very big on helping people guide them into their story so that they don't repeat the same things over and over again. We're not here to do the same thing over and over again. We are not. We're here to start a new cycle. You start a new cycle when you look at your patterns. What have you repeated through the past? What have you not stopped? What are you completing in this life? What are you moving on to? I just found out I've been mostly a male composer. How are you acting on that in this life? Doing any interesting projects? If so, tag me. I love to see people channeling. I remember when I saw myself from another life, and I was like, she's probably having a good time up until they sank her ship. I've had many previous lives. The last couple are connected to like Haiti and New Orleans, the Dominican Republic, Cuba. So, I'm not shocked that a lot of that energy is coming up again right now. What's a male composer? Like someone who composes music? Like Beethoven, Mozart? Oh, someone was asking in the comments. I think they thought it was something else, but yeah. You guys, I'm gonna ask questions now. Who are your favorite like music videos that you've seen channel mythology before? Who are your favorite singers that you've seen channel different forms of mythology before? Kanye. You know what my favorite Kanye one is? His E.T. song with Katy Perry. Remember how when he said Get Out was about him? There's a scene in E.T. where he's literally falling. And then later on, when Daniel Kaluuya, I think this was like last year, they literally made a statue of him falling and they expected him to smile about it. That was wild. I was like, okay, this is where we're at. What's mythology? Myths that are stories. Ariana Grande, God is a woman. Yeah, she has I can't remember what the name of the painting is. It's a painting by Salvador Dali, Raphael something, Raphael's Mind, I believe. Where she shows in God as a Woman, she shows the basilica, which kind of looks like the Hunger Games, the Battle of Songbirds and Snakes, or the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, where all the cameras are around her watching as they thought she was going to get eaten by the snakes and she didn't. It also kind of mimics Ridley Scott's commercial for the Super Bowl in 1984, where the divine feminine throws the hammer and shatters the simulation. I really like that one too. Rihanna, which one? Rihanna is doing heavy Venus copper codes. I believe she's coming out with something called like Aphrodite coming up soon, which is interesting because y'all know Fenty is partnered with LVMH too. Ape Shit Beyonce, which part? I thought Ape Shit was an interesting video, especially showing like the coronation of Josephine when she was like, call my girls and get them all on a spaceship. Josephine was a wife of Napoleon Bonaparte too, and that takes place like connected to France and Louisiana as well. Nicki Minaj. What's your favorite Nicki Minaj, Katniss? What's your favorite video of symbolism you've seen her do? What did you study in university? Education. K through 12. You would think I did like some psychology or deep neuro. No, I didn't. That was self study. What about Doja Cat? What about Doja Cat? Rihanna's Sledgehammer? Is that a music video? What do you want to know about Doja? I think Doja is Kim Kardashian's alter, to be completely honest. If it's not a substance like genetic cloning situation, that's definitely an alter, like a MK Ultra alter. Missy Elliott, get your freak on. You know, Missy Elliott had a lot of codes in her early music videos. Past that Dutch had a lot of symbolism in it too. I really think that Kim Kardashian and Doja Cat are alters. Look at their birthdays, look at their faces, look at their public symbolism, their archetypes. Like, so if someone underwent MK Ultra, they would like shut their a part of their brain off essentially and give them programs to activate and do something else, like give them a different persona. So until I see both of them in the same room at the same time, they're either alters of one another or she's a clone. Don't know which one. And I don't really go with like the clone theory about everything, but there are some very weird connections with them, especially connected to like NASA, Area 51, tech, and all of that in the Spider Verse. It's a music video where Rihanna is a space goddess. I'm gonna have to watch that. I don't think I've ever seen it. You know, I got my introduction to Rihanna with Music of the Sun. And I really didn't listen to Good Girl Gone Bad like that. Like I did know like S&M, Man Down. I just wasn't a part of like the Rihanna club like that. Like I've always liked her because she was always like in high school. She was big around that time, like when Chris Brown was big and stuff prior to him, doing what he did. But I never like Music of the Sun was my initiation into her music. So I never really followed her career very heavily after that. Michael Jackson, Annie, are you okay? Okay, y'all bring in some non-modern day stars. Definitely Michael Jackson had tons of symbolism in his music. The only music video featuring Lil Wayne and Drake. Only? Is that the song you're referring to, Katniss? Celine Dion on her I Surrender live with the moon and a strange white figure. I'll have to look at that music video. Celine Dion was in my decodes during the Olympics because I was thinking about Titanic and My Heart Will Go On, Paris, Isis. Paris is usually associated with Isis as well. Maze. Like Maze and Frankie Beverly, or Maze like Maze is back? Mirror, Lil Wayne. Seeing if y'all put anybody else. Y'all all have good ones. I'm gonna have to go look at some of this. Frankie Beverly, okay. I remember Frankie Beverly was in my decodes when we had that hurricane down here. He died like the same day the hurricane was here. And I think it was like called Hurricane Francine. Katy Perry, Dark Horse is a good one. Rihanna, Where Have You Been? I might have to go sit down and examine some music videos. The Beatles and Led Zeppelin. Y'all, when I was doing my decodes on Marty Supreme, because they have like a weird poster that has I thought it was the Nickelodeon blimp, but did you know it's not a blimp? It's called a Zeppelin. I did not know that. You learn something new every day. I kept saying, "Oh, the Nickelodeon blimp looks like that Marty Supreme poster," and then I looked it up. It's like that's called a Zeppelin. I was like, "Oh, that changes the game." What do you think about Hotel California, the song by the Eagles? Is that the Eagles? I like the song. I think there's counterculture, rock culture as well has a lot of decodes in it as well. Cause like, most of them had to undergo like substances during their time on the road and partying. So I assume a lot of them saw stuff. I think one of the members, speaking of rock and roll and psychedelic rock, one of the members of the Grateful Dead just died like last week. Glad it was not Jerry Garcia. The Zeppelins they want to erase from history. Red Hot Chili Peppers say a lot in their lyrics. Yeah, there's quite a lot. I have a theory about Queen and Freddie Mercury and Nikola Tesla. It's based off of the song Radio Gaga, off of the music video Radio Gaga, because Nikola Tesla claimed to communicate with people from the beings from the planet Venus. And so Freddie Mercury, especially like taking on sort of like a feminine archetype in a masculine body. And when I heard the lyrics to Radio Gaga and I thought about radio towers and Tesla coils and Tesla towers, I was like, I wonder if there's something there, a connection between the two. Mariah Carey, I feel she's different from the rest, like in a good way. Nobody's different, babe. There's no difference. There's not like one that shines above all. They're all the same. Just as everyone is the same. We're a universal conscious. They're not different. There was somebody I came into contact with yesterday. It was like, I don't think they're all they are. That doesn't mean they're all doing the same thing, but they're all are. Thoughts on the song White Rabbit? That's actually connected to the Super Bowl too. Jefferson Airplane, later becoming Jefferson Starship. One of the members of the band opened up a club in San Francisco, California called The Matrix, near a place called Cow's Hollow. It is now known as the White Rabbit Bar. Now, a lot of, they're bros, they think White Rabbit is just about Adrena can't finish the sentence. And that's not it, because the rabbit is commonly associated with fertility, springtime. Also with the goddess Anut, who was a hare in ancient Egypt, known as the Swift One. So you can probably guess why Taylor Swift and the Swifties use the symbolism of Wonderland descending into the underworld as well. Yes, I've heard of Pizzagate. I don't think there's a person alive who has not heard of Pizzagate. And no, I don't have any thoughts on it. I think that those things fascinate people, but then they get equally disgusted by them, to which I say maybe focus on something that works for you. Khalees acapella, Radiohead. A lot, I say go back to the music of the 80s. I think it'll teach you quite a lot about yourself. Taylor Swift does play that part very, very well. She also has a music video in a bathtub too. Well, The Fate of Ophelia, I decoded that music video. She's in a bathtub at the end, but then there's also what is it? Her Look What You Made Me Do video. She's in a bathtub, kind of like Tupac was. Californication, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Depeche Mode? I don't think I've heard that before. I'll have to look it up. But okay, guys, make sure if you guys are interested in getting your dreams decoded, check out the offer. There are only 5 spots available, so make sure you get yours this week. I am accepting appointments for this specific one only this week, but I still have personal decode transmissions and live transmissions up. If you've ever been interested in learning how to code the matrix, I have plenty of resources on my website, tailoredhealingcollective.com. Tons of great stuff coming, guys. I just released an interview yesterday that I had with 2 men, Rexley and Merle Garrison, former employees of IBM CyberTalk Television, where they're talking about the infrastructure and framework of the Matrix. And I mean, we're going into how it's built down to the nitty gritty. If you ever wonder how massive surveillance works through tech companies, third-party distributors, we are touching on all of that. It is a multi-part series, and this is the first episode. I also have another episode of my podcast coming out this week of Tailored Healing TV with artist and visionary Karen Palmer. You guys should definitely check out her app Consensus Gentium that shows the future of surveillance, but she is also being featured at South by Southwest this year. With her new experience, Ascended Intelligence. So be sure to look her up, check it out. Tons of resources, everything from audio transmissions for those of you all who are trying to overcome trauma, pain, redirect your mind, understand your reality. You can visit my audio transmission section on my website. You can check out my books, the resources that I have. One of my favorites and one of my first and oldest beginner books is called Decoded Reality. It's a very basic starter book, ebook for you guys to check out. They do come in bundles, but they also do come individually, so be sure to check those out, recommend them to a friend. And tons of free lectures, videos. I try to stay in the know with what's happening in pop culture to explain to you guys the different frameworks of reality from a millennial who's seen before and after the internet, so that we can start to bridge these worlds together, guys. The world is not ending. It is not ending. There's only a new beginning. Also, learn to have a bird's eye view on reality because when we hyperfixate on what's good or what's bad, we can never really look at the framework as a whole. Therefore, we kind of get lost in the sauce. The idea is to find yourself again in the reality, learning how to move through consciousness at an individual level so that you can find your own journey and alchemize the experience. Thank you guys. Be sure to check out the podcast in the link in my bio, or if you're already on YouTube, you can see all my previous episodes on there. If you're on TikTok, reach the link in my bio to see my podcast, press interviews, anything that I've done. Because, some people get on TikTok yapping and don't have experience. I have to show my experience because when we learn from someone, we should know who they are. And I want anyone who communicates with me to know my story so that it doesn't feel like I'm different than you or above you. In fact, I've been through a lot of hardship in my life, from homelessness to kind of feeling isolated, for being crazy on the internet, talking about patterns and decodes. And I've been able to transform myself. And by transform, I don't mean like, oh, guys, I got on Shopify and started a store and made billions of dollars overnight. No, I've had radical self transformation. And I've been able to wake that up in so many people that the best way I can do to continue that cycle is to continually give back to others, from lectures to ebooks to video decode breakdowns. And I hope that you guys are inspired to do the same in your life. Okay, shoot me if you are trying to get in the Discord and cannot. Please send me an email or a DM with your name that you're using so I can go into the Discord and check it. Whatever name that you have on there, make sure the app is actually downloaded too and you're not just doing it through the internet, because it tends to act weird if you're trying to access it through a computer. But send me your screen name, and then if you can, a screenshot, just so I know how to navigate it so that I can help you get into the Discord. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I may be on for an informal live later tonight, but if not, I'll be back on tomorrow. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Remember, we're in a dream within a dream, but it's time to wake up. This is the year that we all wake up and start learning ourselves. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk soon.